What would you do if your husband reserved a $10,000 meal on your credit card without asking? Sarah's world shatters when her husband, David, invites the entire family to a lavish dinner without consulting her. As if that weren't enough, he planned to charge it all to her credit card. But Sarah had other plans. When the bill came, she revealed a shocking truth. She had canceled the card a month ago. Stay tuned to see how Sarah exposes David's deceit and takes control of her life. Don't forget to subscribe for more powerful stories. Hello, Sarah. Please come to Harris Restaurant in front of the station immediately. The whole family is waiting here for you. I froze. What Harris Restaurant? That high-end French place? What do you mean the whole family is waiting? Actually, I reserved the place. I've invited even the family members who usually can't attend. The cost will be around $10,000. I'll pay with your credit card. Please hurry. Without a moment's hesitation, David hung up the phone. Am I paying $10,000? I just stood there, stunned. But I wasn't surprised, just appalled. My husband had outdone himself this time. His ignorance was staggering. He really understood nothing. Despite me having everything under control, my husband had placed himself at the gates of hell, and without a second thought, I considered pushing him straight to the bottom. With that thought, I grabbed my coat and left the house. 30 minutes later, I arrived at the Harris Restaurant. David was waiting alone, looking far too pleased with himself. His smile was unnerving, out of place against the luxurious decor of the restaurant. "It seems the relatives are already waiting in another room," he said with pride, but his words were dripping with smugness. "Sarah, as I mentioned earlier, I'll freely use your credit card. It may seem tough, but a wife's money belongs to her husband after all." It's only natural for a wife to support her husband, right? You have no complaints, right? I was speechless. Unbelievable. According to David, 20 relatives had gathered, and he had booked a luxurious course costing $500 per person. Harris was indeed a high-end French restaurant, known for its variety of courses and reasonable prices, yet my husband had deliberately chosen the most expensive one. It was as if torturing me had become his favorite pastime, completely unaware of the disaster he was setting up for himself. David seemed so pleased with his foolishness. All I could do was laugh. "A wife's wallet belongs to her husband, huh?" I said, my voice steady. "It's natural for a wife to support her husband. But you know, I stopped that a month ago." "What? You stopped being a wife? You can't just quit that easily. Divorce requires formal procedures. You know that, right?" "David, you don't understand anything. If you did, you wouldn't have reserved such an extravagant place. How do you plan to pay without money? Are you going to dine and dash?" "I would never do something so foolish. I'll say it again. I'll pay with your credit card. If you don't like it, I'll really make you quit being my wife, okay?" I didn't waste a moment. I pulled out a document and thrust it in front of him. "Here's the reality, David. I canceled the credit card a month ago." I slid the cancellation certificate across the table, letting it speak for itself. "I prepared this because I thought you wouldn't believe me. The credit card is no longer usable, and I'll ask again with no money. What are you going to do? Are you planning to run away?" "What? I can't use your credit card? That's impossible. That cancellation certificate, it must be fake." His voice was shaking now. "After all, the credit card I took was from your purse. If it really was canceled, there's no reason to keep it in your purse." "So, you're not even hiding the fact that you took it from my purse," I said, my voice cutting. "I left the canceled card in there because I thought you might steal it. You were completely fooled, poor thing." "Sarah, what's that attitude? It's unacceptable for a wife to speak to her husband like that." David, of course, was furious. His sense of superiority had been shattered, and he couldn't stand it. His anger rose quickly, his voice reaching a peak as he raised it, careless of those around. Despite being in the corner of the restaurant, his loud outbursts drew attention, and the whispers began. He quickly pasted a smile on his face, trying to salvage whatever dignity he had left. The staff exchanged glances, and the buzz in the restaurant only grew louder. David's face turned crimson, but compared to the disaster waiting for him, this was the least of his problems. Soon after, my in-laws came over to me. It seems David's voice had clearly reached the relatives as well. "David, what are you doing? The relatives are all shocked. You're disturbing other guests too. Look, everyone is watching. Ah ha ha. Oh, I just got a bit excited. It's nothing serious, so don't worry. It seemed the in-laws hadn't heard the details of the conversation and looked puzzled, but they said nothing further. David was smiling slightly, trying to smooth things over, but he must have been relieved inside that his parents-in-law had arrived. He only shows his true self to me, especially since he works for the company run by his father. He always pretends to be the ideal husband in front of him. I, too, made a face of disbelief, like the in-laws, but David quietly looked at me. Do not say anything unnecessary. I won't forgive you if you do. I felt this implicit pressure from him. He has always tried to intimidate me and dominate by force. I was scared and I complied, but at that time, I couldn't bear it anymore. David inviting the relatives was the perfect opportunity to expose his true face in front of everyone. I started the conversation with my in-laws about settling today's bill. David planned to use my credit card. He took the card from my purse and reserved a restaurant without my permission. Ah! Exclaimed my in-laws in surprise. That credit card was actually canceled a month ago, but David doesn't know that and was planning to use it carelessly. He doesn't have any money, so how does he plan to pay? I explained. Wait a minute, Sarah, I don't understand. Are you saying David stole your card and was planning to settle today's payment? David said he would pay today's expenses. It will cost about $10,000, but leave it to me, he said. If what you say is true, was he actually planning to burden you with $10,000? That's hard to believe. Could there be some misunderstanding? They questioned. My in-laws were visibly shaken. This was the usual response, even after thinking it over. Unbelievable, yet undeniably true. Wanting to deflect the situation, my husband put on a bright smile, his expression strained as he spoke in an overly casual tone. Sarah's mistaken. I'll handle everything myself. I plan to entertain everyone at my own expense. I'll settle the bill in advance, so don't worry. With those words, he walked to the cashier, throwing a sly, almost eerie smile at me. It was clear he hadn't accepted that I had canceled the credit card. Even after I showed him the cancellation certificate, he still couldn't seem to believe me. A few moments later, he returned, still smiling, while my in-laws seemed relieved that the payment had gone through. But I could sense the tension in my husband. He was probably panicking inside, thinking, "This is bad. The credit card didn't work." That's to be expected considering I had indeed canceled the card. The only option left for him was to pay the $10,000 himself. But that was a problem because he couldn't. I knew exactly what he was trying to hide. With a cold, unwavering gaze, I turned to him. "Tell the truth before this gets any worse," I said, applying pressure. His face turned pale, realizing I wasn't going to let it slide. After a long pause, he finally admitted, "Sorry, Dad, Mom. I really couldn't make the payment. Sarah's credit card was really canceled." My father-in-law raised an eyebrow. "Is that the truth? You were planning to use Sarah's card? That's a serious misunderstanding, isn't it?" With a weak smile, my husband stammered, "It's true that I intended to pay with Sarah's card today. I had discussed it with her, but I was shocked to find out it had been canceled. I apologize, but I'll pay for this myself. I'll definitely repay you." His words twisted between lies and partial truths, clearly trying to worm his way out of the mess. But I wasn't going to let him. With unbelievable audacity, my husband leaned in to whisper, "Why did you cancel the card? Are you trying to embarrass me?" I didn't hesitate. "Why? It's simple. I didn't want you using it without permission. The real issue here is you using my card without consent, not the embarrassment you're worried about." I didn't whisper. I spoke clearly, despite his desperate attempt to hush me. His face flushed with shock. "Quiet. Don't talk about this here. Keeping a canceled card in your purse only causes confusion." But it seemed the conversation wasn't as private as he'd hoped. My in-laws, who had been sitting quietly, now stared at him, eyes wide with disbelief. "David, what are you doing? You tried using Sarah's card without her permission? Taking it from her purse? That's unacceptable!" He faltered, at a loss for words. His father's sharp tone left him speechless. It was then that I decided to lay everything out. If David wasn't going to be honest, I would expose him. For the past year, David has barely returned home. At first, I thought he was busy with work, given how large your company is, father-in-law. But then things started changing. David began going out even on holidays, missing important dates like my birthday and our anniversary, and worse, he started using my credit card without my permission. I could see my in-laws exchange a glance, a silent understanding passing between them. It was clear they were starting to grasp the full picture, and the ominous feeling was palpable. I asked David that we spend more time together as a couple and that he stopped using the credit card without permission, but he argued that it's natural for a wife to cater to her husband and didn't listen. Worse, he threatened divorce and showed me a divorce form he already signed. "Divorce!" my father-in-law exclaimed in surprise. "Have you been making Sarah suffer so much?" My mother-in-law raised her voice. My father-in-law stared sternly at his son, realizing that his illusion of his son being an exemplary husband had shattered, though there was hope that my husband would admit his mistakes. "No, that's not it. What Sarah is saying is baseless. I need to be mindful of my appearance as I am preparing to take over as president. The meetings I attend on weekends are networking events and seminars, part of my work. What's wrong with using joint funds for work-related purposes? If I stop earning, my wife would suffer too." My husband tried desperately to defend himself. It seems he wanted to claim that he was not at fault. My in-laws remained silent. Perhaps they found some reason in my husband's explanation and could not reproach him. However, I knew the truth he was hiding. No matter his excuses, they were meaningless. "Oh, is that so? Then can you still say it's part of your job after looking at this?" With that, I decided to present further evidence to my in-laws. From my handbag, I pulled out a document. It listed the dates, store names, and amounts spent. "What is this statement?" "This is a credit card statement. As you can see, it details purchases of luxury items for women." "Why would you have something like that?" As I showed the document, my husband hurriedly tried to snatch it, but I swiftly brushed off his hand and stared at him, pressing him for answers. "Why did you purchase luxury items for women with my credit card? Cosmetics and jewelry aren't necessary for your job, are they? Can you explain this specifically?" That was for gifting to the women at work. I was giving them as birthday presents. It's important to be favored by women in business, you know. The expense involved is inevitable, right?" His explanation was perplexing, but considering his reputation at work, there might be some truth to it. Hearing it was for birthday presents might seem reasonable. However, this was the first time my husband failed to convince his parents. "Whatever the purpose, the fact remains you used Sarah's card without permission. If it really was necessary, you should have discussed it with Sarah. Buying luxury brands because female colleagues asked for them, that doesn't seem credible." "I'm sorry. I apologize for using my wife's card. I promise never to do it again. Please forgive me." With that, my husband made an apologetic gesture towards us and his parents. However, my father-in-law's anger did not subside easily, and he sternly admonished my husband. "Just because you're married doesn't mean you can use a credit card without permission. Moreover, because the amount is substantial, make sure to reimburse Sarah for the money spent, all right?" "I'll refund the money." My husband appeared disheartened and seemed reflective as he looked down, but I was still not convinced. Does he think I don't know he's still hiding something? This was just the beginning of the real test. My husband and I, along with his parents, headed to the room where the other relatives were waiting. There, I pulled out my smartphone from my bag and pressed the play button. The sudden playback surprised my husband, and he stared at me in disbelief, his face quickly turning pale. The audio was a conversation between a man and a woman where my husband was insulting me, and the woman was saying, "Hurry up and divorce your wife." The surrounding family members were shocked by this revelation. "David, who is this woman?" I asked. My husband frantically searched for an excuse. During this, his parents glared at him with expressions filled with anger. The relatives were also appalled by the scene. My husband faced another crisis immediately after the credit card issue. Without a moment to catch his breath, there's no hiding it anymore. "You were having an affair, weren't you?" I asserted. At this, my husband began to sweat and shouted something in response. "That's not true! I'm not having an affair! It was wrong of me to speak ill of you, but she's just a friend, and we were just hanging out. By the way, when did you prepare this? Eavesdropping is illegal." Although he confirmed that he had insulted me, he continued to deny the affair. Moreover, he tried to shift the focus of the conversation and point the blame at me. However, I was not backing down. I explained the facts to him so that he couldn't escape them. "David, I've been watching you for a long time. The credit card history made the affair obvious. That's why, while you pretended to go to work, I installed a listening device in your car." "A listening device in the car? That's ridiculous. As I said earlier, eavesdropping is illegal. Do you understand that? If it's to catch evidence of infidelity, it's not illegal as long as it's not for stalking or similar behavior." This strong stance showed that I was prepared to do whatever necessary to uncover the truth, prioritizing my well-being and seeking justice in our troubled relationship. My husband fell silent, fully aware that he was struggling to justify himself. However, he couldn't bring himself to admit it and appealed to his parents and relatives. "Everyone, please don't believe what she's saying. She's trying to trap me. I haven't been unfaithful." What a troublesome person. While sighing, I threw a document at my husband in front of the relatives. "What is this? What do you think it is?" "It's a demand for compensation." At that, my husband's complexion changed rapidly. "This document is a demand for compensation I sent to my husband's mistress. It was confirmed through investigation you were having an affair with a woman named Ashley, so I visited Ashley and demanded compensation from her before you." "You met Ashley directly and demanded compensation? What were you thinking?" My husband was so shocked that he was rendered speechless. However, he is the one being excessive. It's unreasonable for him to blame me while overlooking his own mistakes. Surprised, aren't you? But she told me everything. She didn't hide your wrongdoings. You were buying luxury items for her with my credit card, weren't you? The excuse about gifts for female employees was obviously a lie. It was all used for her. In fact, Ashley told you everything. If the evidence is complete, it's undeniable. Ashley also honestly admitted to the affair and agreed to pay compensation because of my card. That's why I brought this compensation claim. My husband looked up at the sky, his face etched with despair. I waved the compensation claim lightly in front of him, holding it out like a final piece of evidence. His irritation was obvious as he raised his voice. "Damn! To think you planned all of this without me noticing! Truly a cunning wife!" "A wife?" The words hit me like a weight I couldn't carry anymore. "I was your wife," I replied coldly. "But that's in the past now. I told you a month ago that I quit. Didn't you hear? The divorce papers have already been submitted. Now, I'm just an acquaintance." "Did you really submit the divorce papers?" His voice was incredulous, his shock barely hidden. "Why are you surprised? I just submitted the papers you waved in front of my face to get back at me. Everything was done through the proper procedures. Any complaints? But you shouldn't have filed without discussion. It's unreasonable to divorce like this." "It might be unreasonable," I shot back, "but the fact that you used my credit card without permission doesn't change." I paused, letting the words sink in. "That's why I filed on my own. Now this matter is settled." My husband fell silent, his eyes wide with disbelief. He hadn't seen this coming. As we stood there, my in-laws and relatives watching the exchange began to realize the truth. "Using Sarah's credit card without permission, having an affair? We believed you two were happily married, and here you are, betraying her like this." Anger flared across the room as the family turned on him. My father-in-law, his voice resolute, spoke sharply. "This marks the end of our relationship as father and son. You're fired from the company." "Fired? Just for an affair? This is too harsh. Think about it calmly." My husband's words were desperate, trying to cling to any semblance of control. Then there was a sharp sound, the unmistakable crack of a slap. My mother-in-law had struck my husband hard across the cheek. Her eyes filled with tears, a mixture of sadness, pity, and disappointment clouding her gaze. "Just an affair," she spat. "You're the one who's wrong, David. You plan to hurt Sarah and just run away?" Her anger silenced him, and he stood there, speechless, surrounded by a cold, unforgiving silence. It was clear now he had no excuse, no defense. His selfishness, his entitlement, was on full display. My money was his. A wife's duty was to serve her husband. These words echoed in the room like poison, impossible to ignore. His blatant disregard for anyone but himself was unforgivable. For a long time, my husband remained silent, the weight of his actions sinking in. But then, with a defiant look in his eyes, he slowly raised his head, his resolve hardening. "It doesn't matter what happens, divorce, being fired, whatever. I'm going to be with Ashley." My breath caught in my throat. "What did you say?" I asked, barely able to believe the audacity in his voice. He didn't hesitate. With an almost victorious tone, he revealed his plans. "I'm marrying Ashley. She's who I want. I'm skilled enough to work at any company. My father's company is worthless. As long as I have Ashley, that's all I need. I truly love her. Marrying her is all I need." My in-laws stood frozen, their shock evident. Despite the divorce, the family rejection, and his job loss, he still clung to his defiant attitude. But even in his arrogance, there was a limit. It was clear his sense of entitlement had finally pushed him beyond the point of no return. "You might not know this, but Ashley has been dating several other men as well." "That's a lie! Ashley loves only me. You're just jealous and making this up." "But this is the truth. She has relationships with multiple men, and you are not the most important to her." "Not the most important?" "Yes, you are not that significant to her. In fact, she paid the compensation to me quickly to avoid problems." "I can't believe it. I didn't think Ashley was that kind of woman." "The idea that Ashley had feelings for you was just a delusion. You were just being used. By the way, the compensation she paid me was actually funded by another man she was seeing." "That's a lie! A lie! There's no way Ashley would deceive me. We are going to get married. Nothing you do can stop us." It seems my husband still couldn't accept reality, so I calmly confronted him with the truth. "It's about time you understood that you've been abandoned. Haven't you been unable to contact Ashley recently? Neither calls nor messages are going through, right?" "Now that you mention it," my husband faltered. It seems he could understand that fact. "In short, you are no longer needed. You've been blocked." "I am no longer needed?" "Yes, exactly. Have you understood now? There is nothing left for you. It is a fitting end for someone who has deceived others as you have." After telling him this, he collapsed to his knees and bowed his head right there. "Please, Sarah, I am truly sorry. Please forgive me." It seemed that my husband had realized his situation. "Please reconsider the divorce. Please rein the firing," he pleaded repeatedly, bowing to me and my in-laws. However, everyone had moved away from his side. "It's too late for apologies now. I will firmly demand the property division and the money you squandered using my credit card. A person like you is just a nuisance to any organization. If you think you can work somewhere else, go ahead and try it. It will prove to be worthless anyway. Please don't leave me like this. I am reflecting on my actions. Can I have just one more chance?" With tears in his voice, my husband continued to appeal to his father while keeping his head bowed. However, my former father-in-law, having given up on his son, ignored him and hurried out of the restaurant. His wife followed him. The relatives also proceeded with their preparations to go home, showing no further interest in my husband. "Well, I'll settle the payment then." "What? You're paying the $10,000? "Of course. I will bill it later." I smiled sweetly. "So," he muttered as he collapsed onto his knees. Today, due to my retaliation, it became the most painful day for him. However, this story is not yet over. His ordeal will continue. After everything that had happened, I found myself back at my parents' house. But the phone kept ringing incessantly, each call from my ex-husband, David. I'd been deliberately ignoring him, but today I knew I had to answer. This time, it was time to deliver the final blow. "Sarah, you finally answered. Please, I'm in trouble. I need your help." His voice sounded desperate, like it always did when he was cornered. I leaned back in my chair, forcing myself to stay calm. "Well, that sounds like a tough situation. What happened? Are you trying to run from debt collectors?" "What? How did you know that? Did someone tell you?" His voice wavered in disbelief. "No, I found out through my own research. I replied, each word cutting through the air. David, you've accumulated a substantial amount of debt, haven't you? You've been giving money to your mistress, paying your coworkers to do your job, using your position as the boss's son to force them to comply with your demands. All this just to keep up appearances at the company while living a double life. And you've gone into debt to fund it all. Do you really think you could keep living this way? His silence told me everything I needed to know. Remember that day when the family gathered at the fancy restaurant and your credit card was declined? Jay had to pay the $10,000 himself because you couldn't handle your finances. But I already knew that was impossible for him. I did my homework, David. I know about your massive debt. Sarah, this is all my fault. I know. But you're capable, aren't you? You can thrive somewhere else. Leaving your father's company shouldn't be a problem, right? His words were weak, a final attempt to place the blame anywhere but on himself. Oh, you haven't found another job yet? All your interviews fell through, and now you're being chased by your debts, and it's eating you alive mentally. Funny, isn't it? This is exactly why I asked earlier about someone who spends his time offloading work onto others to improve his own performance. It doesn't work. And even if you do find another job, it won't last. Don't you understand that? David couldn't respond. He knew I was right. His behavior had been self-destructive for years, and without any self-reflection, it would only get worse. Sarah, I regret everything. I should have cherished you more. I should have worked harder at my father's company. I've been reflecting, and I'm sorry. Can we start over? I swallowed back the urge to scream at him. Instead, I spoke calmly but firmly. I can't. It's impossible. People can change, yes, but there are actions that can't be forgiven. You deceived not only me, but also the people who trusted you. You need to pay for that. You will fully repay the property division and the money you misused. Running away isn't an option. I waited a moment, listening to the silence on the other end of the line, then ended the call without another word. A few days later, I heard more about David's situation from my former in-laws. As expected, he hadn't managed to secure a stable job and was now begging for support from his family. I need help. We're family, right? How can our son end up like this? His words were filled with desperation, but they were empty. It was the same self-centered behavior I had come to expect from him, asking for help only when it suited him, never once acknowledging the hurt he caused. How could he think that such selfishness was acceptable? The truth was, David had always been this way. He had coasted through life relying on the support of others without ever truly appreciating it. I had never heard him say thank you not once. If I had seen his true nature before we got married, I would have never walked down that aisle. I deeply regret not speaking up sooner, not seeking advice from my in-laws or anyone else when I was drowning in the relationship. If I had, maybe my future would have been different, less painful, less lonely. But now I have learned. I've learned to face myself honestly. I've learned to become stronger, to be resolute. It's time to say goodbye to the weaker version of myself, to stop pretending and step forward with a firm resolve into my new beginning. What do you do when the person you once trusted above all else betrays you in ways you never thought possible? When they use your resources, manipulate your love, and still expect you to clean up their mess? Sarah spent years tolerating her husband's selfishness, believing that one day he'd change. But when David made the mistake of using her credit card without permission, spending $10,000 without a second thought, it became clear he hadn't changed. He never would. And when she finally exposed him in front of their family, it was a wake-up call that couldn't be ignored. The real shock came when David, in his desperation, admitted his mistakes but still tried to blame everyone else. He'd never taken responsibility for his actions, never truly cared about the consequences. He saw the people around him as tools to be used, including Sarah, but as she showed him, some mistakes cannot be swept under the rug. Some betrayals cannot be forgiven, no matter how many apologies are given. Now, Sarah is stronger, more self-assured. She's not looking back, and she's no longer holding on to a future built on lies. She has learned that sometimes letting go is the only way to truly move forward. So here's the question. What would you have done if you were in Sarah's shoes? Would you have forgiven David, or would you have cut ties long ago? Let's talk about it in the comments. And if you found this story powerful, don't forget to like, subscribe, and stay tuned for more.
The gallery lights cast harsh shadows across my photographs, each image a silent accusation of everything my family refused to see. I adjusted the final piece, a stark black and white portrait of abandonment captured in an empty playground swing moving in the wind. Perfect metaphor for my life, really. They're not coming, are they? Sophie's voice carried across the empty exhibition space. My best friend already knew the answer, but she needed me to say it. I checked my phone again. No missed calls, no messages, just a 2-word text from Mom sent hours ago. Meeting running late. Of course not, I said, pocketing the phone. Mother dearest has an important case, and Dad's probably saving someone's life, or maybe they're both at Ryan's latest tech launch, or Evan's real estate thing. Take your pick. Sophie squeezed my shoulder. Millie, you've worked too hard to let them ruin this. The Times critic is coming. This could be huge for you. I'm Millie Thompson, eldest child, and perpetual disappointment to my high-achieving family. Tonight was supposed to be different. My first solo exhibition, the culmination of years of struggle and determination. I'd even named it Family Portraits, a not-so-subtle dig at the people who should have been here. The gallery door chimed. My heart jumped, but it was just Jake, my boyfriend, carrying a bouquet of wildflowers. His musician's salary couldn't afford roses, but these meant more anyway. He took one look at my face and knew. They're assholes, he said simply, handing me the flowers. Language, dear, came a familiar voice. Grandma Rose appeared behind him, her silver hair immaculate as always. Though in this case, I agree with the sentiment. Grandma, you shouldn't have come all this way. Nonsense, I wouldn't miss my granddaughter's triumph. She surveyed the room with sharp eyes. Though I see your parents are maintaining their perfect record of absence. The first guests started arriving. Critics, gallery owners, local artists, all the right people. I plastered on my professional smile and played hostess, but every time the door opened, I couldn't help looking. Hoping. An hour in, my phone buzzed. A text from Ryan. Sorry, sis, Mom and Dad are at my investor meeting. Huge deal. You understand, right? I did understand. I understood perfectly. The critic from the Times praised my raw emotional honesty and unflinching examination of familial disconnect. If he only knew. As the evening wound down, Grandma Rose pulled me aside. There's something you should know, dear. About your brother's success. She hesitated, then pressed an envelope into my hand. Look at these when you're alone, and remember, you're stronger than they think. I slipped the envelope into my bag, questions burning in my throat, but Grandma Rose just kissed my cheek and left, her perfume lingering like a promise. Later that night, after Jake had gone home and Sophie had helped clean up, I sat alone in my small apartment. The envelope contained bank statements, investment reports, emails. My hands shook as I read them. Everything. My brother's companies, their success, their perfect lives, built on lies and stolen money. Our parents had orchestrated it all, funneling millions into their ventures, while telling me I needed to learn independence. I looked at my phone. Another text from Mom. Sorry we missed it. Dinner next week? I didn't reply. Instead, I opened my laptop and began planning my next exhibition. This one wouldn't be subtle. This one would show exactly who my family really was, in perfect, high-resolution detail. They wanted a successful daughter. Fine. I'd give them one they'd never forget. The first light of dawn was creeping through my windows when I finally went to bed. My dreams full of shattered family portraits and the sweet taste of revenge. The documents from Grandma Rose's envelope spread across my coffee table like a roadmap of betrayal. Each statement showed another investment in my brother's ventures. Hundreds of thousands funneled through shell companies and creative accounting. I'd spent 3 days analyzing every detail, my camera gathering dust in the corner. My phone buzzed. Mother's weekly guilt trip right on schedule. Darling, you missed Sunday dinner again. The boys asked about you. I bet they did. Probably worried what else Grandma Rose had told me. The buzzer rang. Jake right on time with coffee and his usual optimism. Got your favorite, he said, setting down 2 cups. He glanced at the papers. Still digging. Look at this, I said, holding up a document. $2 million to Ryan's tech startup through a holding company. Same day Mom told me they couldn't help with my gallery rent because they were teaching me financial responsibility. Jake settled beside me, his guitar-calloused fingers brushing mine. What are you going to do? Before I could answer, my phone lit up with a text from Evan. Big family announcement tonight. Mom insists you come. No excuses. Perfect timing, I muttered, showing Jake the message. You're not actually going, are you? I started gathering the documents. Oh, I'm going, with my camera. The Thompson family estate loomed like a modern fortress, all glass and sharp angles. Mother's Mercedes and father's Audi sat in their usual spots, alongside Ryan's Tesla and Evan's Range Rover. My beat-up Volkswagen looked like a stray dog that had wandered into a purebred show. Inside, the usual performance was in full swing. Mother holding court in her designer dress, father checking his phone for surgical consults, the Golden Boys commanding attention like twin conductors of an orchestra. Millie, Evan's voice carried that familiar false warmth, finally decided to grace us with your presence. Wouldn't miss it, I said, patting my camera bag. Documenting family moments is kind of my thing now. Ryan shifted uncomfortably. About your exhibition, we really meant to. Save it, I cut him off, watching Mother's expression tighten. I'm sure your investor meeting was far more important. Father finally looked up from his phone. Speaking of investments, your brothers have some exciting news. Of course they did. We're merging companies, Ryan announced. Tech meets real estate, revolutionary concept. With a significant investment from Mom and Dad, Evan added, beaming. I couldn't help myself. Through Cayman Holdings Limited, or are you using the Singapore Shell Company this time? The room went silent. Mother's wine glass froze halfway to her lips. What exactly are you implying? Father's voice had that dangerous edge he used with difficult patience. I pulled out my camera, snapping a quick shot of their faces. Just documenting the moment, for my next exhibition. I'm thinking of calling it Family Finances. Has a nice ring to it. That's enough, Mother snapped. If you're just here to cause trouble. Trouble? I laughed, the sound sharp as broken glass. Like the trouble of falsifying investment documents, or the trouble of systematic financial manipulation to keep your eldest child dependent while funneling millions to your precious sons. Ryan stood up. You don't understand. Oh, I understand perfectly. I took another photo, capturing his panic. The question is, will your investors understand when they see the evidence? Evidence? Father's voice wavered slightly. I pulled out my phone, scrolling through the documents. Amazing what a determined photographer can capture. Every transaction, every shell company, every lie. I looked directly at Mother. How do you think your law firm will react to this kind of creative accounting? You wouldn't dare, she whispered. Watch me. I stood up, gathering my things. Consider this your warning shot. There's more where this came from, and I'm done being the family disappointment. As I walked out, Evan called after me. Millie, wait, we can explain. I turned back one last time, raising my camera. Click. The perfect shot of a family facade cracking under pressure. In my car, hands shaking, I called Jake. How'd it go? He asked. They know, I said, starting the engine. And this is just the beginning. Be careful, he warned. Wounded animals are the most dangerous. I smiled, thinking of the photos I'd just taken. Good thing I've got plenty of evidence to protect myself. And this time, I'm the one calling the shots. Grandma Rose's hands trembled as she laid out more documents on her antique dining table. Your mother thought I was too old to understand modern banking, she said, sliding another folder toward me. She forgot I managed your grandfather's investment firm for 30 years after his death. The morning sun through her bay windows cast shadows across photographs of my brother's groundbreaking ceremonies, press conferences, product launches, all carefully orchestrated lies. "There's something else," Grandma Rose said, her voice dropping. She pulled out a weathered envelope. "Your college fund, the one they claimed was lost in bad investments." My throat tightened. What about it? It wasn't lost. They transferred it to Ryan's first startup. Every penny. The room spun slightly. Those years of working 3 jobs between classes, eating ramen, selling my first camera to make rent, all while they had my money. My phone buzzed. "Ryan, we need to talk, alone." "They're scared," Grandma Rose observed, watching my face. "Good." I met Ryan at his favorite overpriced cafe, where he'd already claimed the most private corner table. His usual confidence had cracked, revealing something I rarely saw: fear. "Whatever you're planning," he said, "you need to stop." "Or what? You'll tell Mom and Dad? Pretty sure they already know." He leaned forward, voice low. "You don't understand what's at stake. It's not just about the money." "Then enlighten me." "The merger. It's not what we're telling people. We're in trouble, Millie. Deep trouble. If this goes public..." "You mean if your fraud goes public?" "It's not that simple." His fist hit the table, making heads turn. He lowered his voice again. "Evan's real estate deals, my tech contracts, they're all connected. If one falls, everything falls," I finished, "including Mom and Dad." He nodded miserably. "They mortgaged everything to keep us afloat. The house, their retirement, everything." "And whose fault is that?" The words came out sharp as broken glass. "They chose their golden boys. Now they can watch them fall." "Please," Ryan's voice cracked. "We can make this right. Cut you in, whatever you want." I pulled out my camera, capturing his desperate expression. "What I want is 34 years of truth, starting with this." My phone buzzed again. "Evan this time. Mom's in the hospital. Heart attack. Come quick." Ryan's phone lit up with the same message. Our eyes met across the table. "Convenient timing," I said, standing. "Jesus, Millie, this isn't a manipulation. She's our mother." At the hospital, Father paced the waiting room in his surgical scrubs, for once, not the one in control. Evan huddled with his wife in the corner, the perfect family portrait, cracking at the edges. She was reviewing some financial documents, Father said, his voice hollow, then collapsed in her office. I felt the weight of my camera bag heavy with evidence. "What documents?" His eyes met mine, understanding dawning. "You're really going to do this? Destroy everything we built?" "You mean everything you built for them?" I nodded toward my brothers. "Well, teaching me about financial responsibility with money you stole from me. We did what we thought was best." "Best for who?" A doctor emerged and everyone tensed. "She's stable," he announced, "but needs rest, no stress." "You hear that, Millie?" Evan said. "No stress, back off." I pulled out my phone, scrolling through the documents. Funny how stress works. Like the stress of working through college because your college fund mysteriously vanished. Or the stress of watching your younger brothers get millions while you can barely make rent. "This isn't the time," Father warned. "It never is." I headed for the door, then turned back. "Oh, and Dad, you might want to check Mother's office. I sent copies of everything to her partners at the firm. Let's see how her heart handles that." In the parking lot, I called Jake. "How bad?" he asked. "Mother's playing the heart attack card, but I found out about my college fund." A pause. "What are you going to do?" I watched through the hospital windows as my family huddled together, excluding me even now. "I'm going to finish what they started. It's time everyone saw the real Thompson family portrait." "Be careful," Jake said. "You're playing with fire." "Good thing I've got plenty of evidence to fireproof myself with." I started my car. "And Jake, thank you for being on my side." "Always," he said softly. "Just make sure this revenge doesn't burn you too." But as I drove away from the hospital, I knew it was too late for warnings. The fire was already burning, and I intended to watch it all go up in flames. The gallery buzzed with anticipation as I hung the final piece, A massive photograph of my brother's merger announcement, overlaid with transparent copies of their fraudulent financial documents. Art meets evidence, the perfect centerpiece for my new exhibition, Family Values. Sophie touched my arm. Channel 8 is here, and the business journal. Right on schedule. I adjusted the lighting, making sure every detail was visible, every lie exposed. My phone vibrated. Evan. I let it go to voicemail, like I had with the previous 12 calls from my family. The exhibition opening was in 30 minutes. Let them see it with everyone else. Jake appeared with coffee, his face tight with concern. Security's in place. Your family won't be able to shut this down. They can try. I checked my watch. Where's Grandma Rose? Here, darling. She emerged from the crowd, elegant as always. Though I'm afraid we have company. Mother's legal team filed in, led by her senior partner, Harrison Wells. All tailored suits and predatory smiles. Miss Thompson, Harrison approached, brandishing papers. We have a cease and desist order. I took a photo of him holding the documents. Perfect for the collection. On what grounds? Defamation, invasion of privacy, corporate espionage. Truth is an absolute defense against defamation, I quoted, remembering Mother's frequent boast. And everything here is true, isn't it, Harrison? Including the documents showing how your firm helped cover up their fraud. His smile faltered. Behind him, several reporters perked up, scenting blood. You're making a mistake, he warned quietly. Your mother is still recovering from her convenient heart attack. Funny how that happened right when... Millie, Ryan's voice cut through the crowd. He stood with Evan at the gallery entrance, both looking exhausted. Please, don't do this. I raised my camera. Click. Too late. The exhibition opened. Crowds moved through the space, murmuring at the evidence displayed alongside artistic photographs capturing years of familial manipulation. Financial documents became abstract patterns. Bank statements transformed into damning poetry. A reporter approached. Miss Thompson, these allegations against Thompson Technologies and Evans Development are all supported by documentation, I finished, pointing to the wall of evidence, including proof that they stole my college fund to launch their first ventures. More reporters gathered. Questions flew, cameras flashed. Then Father arrived, looking older than I'd ever seen him. You've made your point, he said quietly. Name your price. I laughed. My price? You think this is about money? Then what do you want? The truth, all of it, starting with why. A commotion at the entrance interrupted us. Mother stormed in, ignoring her doctor's orders, face flushed with fury or exertion, or both. You ungrateful, she started, then clutched her chest. Father rushed to her side, but she waved him off, straightening. If you think this little stunt will what? I challenged. Expose how you built your precious sons' careers by stealing from me. Show everyone the real Thompson family values. We gave you everything, she exploded. We taught you independence while they what? Needed coddling, millions in secret funding, my money. The gallery had gone silent, everyone watching our family implode in real time. Phones recorded. Reporters scribbled. You don't understand, Mother said, her voice breaking. We had to protect them. They're not like you, they're not strong enough to... She stopped, realizing what she'd admitted. In front of everyone, Ryan and Evan stared at her, their perfect world cracking. I raised my camera one last time, capturing the moment their golden pedestals crumbled. Thank you, Mother. That's exactly what I needed. As security escorted my family out, Jake squeezed my hand. You okay? I watched the reporters swarm, the social media posts multiply, my family's carefully constructed facade dissolving in real time. No, I admitted, but I will be. Grandma Rose appeared beside me. It's not over, you know. They'll fight back. Let them. I surveyed my work. Truth transformed into art, secrets exposed in beautiful, damning detail. I've got nothing left to lose. But as the night wore on and the story spread, I wondered if that was really true, and if the price of revenge would be higher than even I was prepared to pay. The media circus exploded faster than I'd anticipated. 3 days after my exhibition, Thompson Technologies stock plummeted 60%. Evan's real estate empire faced multiple fraud investigations. My phone wouldn't stop buzzing with reporters seeking comments. I scrolled through the headlines on my laptop. Thompson family scandal deepens. Tech prodigy's house of cards. Real estate empire built on stolen dreams. Sophie set down a coffee beside me. Your cousin Andrea called. Says the whole extended family is taking sides. Let me guess which side they're choosing. I closed the laptop, too tired to read more. The satisfaction I'd expected felt hollow, leaving a metallic taste in my mouth. My phone lit up. An unknown number. Miss Thompson, this is Detective Marcus Chen, Financial Crimes Division. We'd like to discuss your evidence against Thompson Technologies. The police. I hadn't expected that. My hands shook as I ended the call. Jake found me in my darkroom later, developing photos from the exhibition opening. Mother's face contorted in rage, father's defeated posture, my brother's crumbling facades. Ryan's wife left him, Jake said quietly, took their kids to her parents' place in Boston. The image in the developer tray slowly revealed itself. Ryan and Evan, looking lost in their expensive suits. For a moment, I saw us as children again, before the money and lies corrupted everything. They made their choices, I said, but my voice wavered. Millie, Jake's tone made me look up. Your father's hospital suspended him. There's talk of a medical board investigation. Good. The word came out automatically, but my stomach clenched. My phone buzzed again. Grandma rose. Turn on Channel 5 now. I rushed to the living room. Mother stood at a podium outside her law firm, looking smaller than I'd ever seen her. I am announcing my immediate resignation as senior partner, she said, her voice cracking. The allegations regarding my family's financial dealings are... She collapsed. The cameras caught everything. Father rushing from the crowd, the paramedics, the chaos. Jesus, Jake whispered. My phone exploded with messages. Ryan, are you happy now? Evan, they're admitting her to cardiac ICU. Father, if anything happens to your mother, it's on you. I grabbed my camera bag, heading for the door. Where are you going? Jake called after me. To finish this. The hospital corridor stretched endless and sterile. Through the ICU window, I saw Mother connected to machines, Father holding her hand. I raised my camera, then slowly lowered it. Quite a show you've put on. Evan's voice behind me, bitter as burnt coffee. But did you know about Ryan's kids? His wife found out she's pregnant. Those children will grow up with their father's name destroyed. Like I grew up with nothing. I turned to face him. While you had everything. We had pressure, he exploded. Constant, crushing pressure to succeed, to be perfect. You were the lucky one. You got to be free. Free? I laughed, the sound echoing harshly. Is that what you call working 3 jobs through college? Selling my equipment to make rent? At least you got to fail on your own terms. We never had that luxury. A nurse hurried past, glaring at us. Through the window, Mother stirred, her monitors beeping faster. My phone buzzed, another reporter wanting comments, then a text from Sophie. Police just left your gallery. They're seizing everything as evidence. The walls seemed to close in. What had I started? The DA's office is involved now, Evan said quietly. They're looking at RICO charges, prison time, all of us, including Mom and Dad. I thought of Mother in handcuffs, Father in prison orange, my brothers in jail cells. The Thompson name splashed across headlines for years to come. You wanted revenge, Evan continued. Congratulations. You've destroyed us all. He walked away, leaving me alone in the sterile corridor with my camera and the weight of what I'd set in motion. My phone buzzed again. Grandma rose. Come to my house. There's something you need to see, something that changes everything. I looked one last time through the ICU window. Mother's eyes opened, meeting mine. In that moment, I saw something I'd never expected. Fear. The same fear I felt growing in my own chest as I realized this revenge had taken on a life of its own. And I wasn't sure I could control where it ended, or who it would destroy next. Grandma Rose's hands shook as she pushed a yellowed envelope across her antique coffee table. "I should have shown you this years ago," she said, "but I was afraid of what it would do to you." Inside, I found a suicide note. My grandfather's handwriting, dated 2 days before his heart attack 30 years ago. "He discovered your mother's first financial manipulation," Grandma Rose said quietly. "She was embezzling from his firm to start her law practice. When he confronted her," the words blurred on the page, "my revenge wasn't original at all. I was just repeating family history, right down to the heart attacks." My phone buzzed. Detective Chen again. I ignored it, like I'd ignored the last 6 calls. "Your mother learned from the best," Grandma Rose continued. "She watched how your grandfather's death destroyed our family. And now I'm doing the same thing." The realization hit like a physical blow. My phone lit up with a news alert. Thompson Technologies files for bankruptcy, thousands of jobs at risk. Thousands. Not just my brothers, not just my parents. Thousands of innocent people. Jake called next. "Millie, turn on the news, now." I fumbled for the remote. Ryan stood at a podium, looking haunted. "In light of recent revelations, Thompson Technologies will cease operations effective immediately. Our 4,000 employees..." His voice cracked. "We regret..." He couldn't finish. Evan appeared, supporting him as reporters shouted questions. "What have I done?" The words came out as a whisper. "What you had to," Grandma Rose said, but her voice lacked conviction. My phone exploded with messages. "Sophie, police just left your apartment. They have a warrant." "Jake, don't go home. Come to my place." An unknown number. "Your brother Ryan just attempted suicide. Metropolitan Hospital ER." The room spun. I grabbed my camera bag, running for the door. "Millie, wait!" Grandma Rose called after me. "There's more you need to know." But I was already gone. The hospital corridor stretched endless and white. Through the ER doors, I glimpsed father arguing with doctors, mother sobbing in a chair, despite her own cardiac concerns. Evan paced, phone to his ear, probably talking to lawyers. I raised my camera automatically, then stopped. What was I documenting now? The destruction I'd caused? "Happy now?" Evan spotted me. He took sleeping pills, lots of them, left a note about failing everyone, about the workers losing their jobs, about his kids growing up ashamed. "I never meant..." "You meant exactly this," he snarled. "You wanted us destroyed. Congratulations, mission accomplished." Mother looked up, saw me. The hatred in her eyes made me step back. "Miss Thompson?" Detective Chen appeared beside me. "You need to come with us, now." "What's happening?" "We have evidence suggesting you manipulated some of the financial documents in your exhibition, created false narratives for revenge." "That's impossible. I have proof." "Your proof has been compromised. Your grandmother's testimony." "What?" "She provided evidence that she helped you fabricate documents to destroy your family's reputation. She's already given her statement." The floor seemed to tilt. Grandma Rose had betrayed me? Or had I betrayed myself, so blinded by revenge I couldn't see what was real anymore? Through the ER window, I watched the doctors work on Ryan. Mother's sobs echoed down the corridor. Father's medical career was over. Evan's real estate empire had crumbled. Thousands of innocent employees were jobless. And now, apparently, I was going to jail. My camera felt heavy in my hands. I'd thought I was documenting truth, exposing lies. Instead, I'd become the very thing I hated, someone who destroyed families for personal gain. "Your camera, please." Detective Chen held out his hand. "It's evidence now." I clutched it tighter, my last connection to who I thought I was. "Millie," Jake appeared, breathless from running. "Don't say anything, I called a lawyer." But as I handed over my camera, Watching Chen bag it as evidence, I realized no lawyer could fix this. I'd wanted to expose the truth about my family, but the real truth was worse than I'd imagined. I wasn't just like my mother, I was worse. The police station's interrogation room smelled of stale coffee and desperation. Detective Chen spread photographs across the metal table. My exhibition pieces, but different, altered, each one showing evidence of digital manipulation I'd never done. Your grandmother was very thorough, he said, provided timestamps, editing software records, everything. My lawyer touched my arm, warning me to stay silent, but the words burst out anyway. Those aren't my edits. Someone changed them. The door opened. Grandma Rose entered, supported by a police officer, looking frailer than I'd ever seen her. But her eyes, they held something I'd never noticed before, something cold. "Tell her," she said to Chen. "Show her what we found in Theodore Thompson's old files." My grandfather's name hit like a slap. Chen pulled out another file. "Your grandfather didn't commit suicide, Miss Thompson. He was murdered, and we have evidence suggesting your grandmother was involved." The room tilted. "What?" "She's been planning this for 30 years, Chen continued. "Using you to finish what she started, destroying the Thompson family from within." Grandma Rose's frail facade cracked, revealing steel underneath. "They took everything from me. Your mother, your grandfather. They pushed me out of my own company, made me watch while they built their empire on my work. So you used me?" The words tasted like ash. All of it. The documents, the support, the love. The love was real. Her voice sharpened. "That's why I had to protect you from becoming them. Look what they did to you, what they're still doing. I gave you the weapon you needed. By falsifying evidence, making me think, making you see the truth. They did steal from you, they did favor your brothers, I just enhanced the proof." The door burst open again. Ryan stood there, pale but alive, with Evan and our parents behind him. Mother's face was ash white, father's hands trembled. "Is it true?" Ryan asked. "About grandfather?" Grandma Rose straightened, suddenly looking decades younger. "He chose your mother over me, his own wife, gave her control of everything we'd built together. So yes, I made sure he paid for that betrayal. And I've spent 30 years watching his precious daughter become exactly what he feared. By destroying innocent lives." I stood up, shaking off my lawyer's restraining hand. "Those workers, Ryan's children, everyone hurt by what I did, what you made me do. I didn't make you do anything." Her smile was terrible. "I just gave you the match. You chose to light the fire." "Enough." Mother's voice cracked like a whip. "You wanted to destroy me? Fine. But using my daughter, making her into your weapon, like you used your sons," Grandma Rose countered. "We're not so different, Lily. We both sacrifice family for revenge." The truth hit me then, looking between these two women. I was becoming both of them. Mother's ruthless ambition, Grandma Rose's calculating revenge. The perfect blend of the worst parts of my family legacy. "Detective," I said quietly, "I'd like to make a statement about everything, the real evidence, the false documents, all of it." "Millie, don't," Grandma Rose started. "You taught me about truth, Grandma. Through the lens, remember? So let's show everyone the whole picture." I looked at my family. Mother's tears, father's shame, my brother's broken dreams. Then at Grandma Rose, who'd orchestrated it all through me. "I'm not choosing sides," I said. "I'm choosing truth. The real truth, not your versions of it. And whatever consequences come with that." "You'll lose everything," Grandma Rose warned. I thought of Jake waiting outside, of Sophie's unwavering support, of the person I wanted to be versus the weapon I'd become. "No," I said, "I'm finally finding myself." Detective Chen pushed a recorder forward. Behind him, my family waited, broken but present. Maybe that was the first truth we all needed to face. We were damaged, but we were still here. I took a deep breath and began to speak, letting the real story emerge through the wreckage of all our carefully constructed lies. It wasn't the revenge story Grandma Rose wanted, or the success story Mother dreamed of. It was messier, harder, more honest. It was mine. The courthouse steps felt colder than they should in spring. I adjusted my camera, capturing the morning light as it hit the bronze Lady Justice above the entrance. My last professional photo for a while. The plea deal ensured that. Jake squeezed my hand as we watched Grandma Rose emerge in handcuffs. She looked smaller now, diminished, but her eyes still held that steel when they met mine. The officers helped her into the police car, and just like that, 30 years of calculated revenge ended with a quiet click of car doors. My phone buzzed. Ryan. They're starting the Employee Relief Fund today. Could use your help with the documentation. It wasn't forgiveness, not yet, but it was something. Inside the courthouse, Mother waited with her own lawyers. The sight of her made my chest tight, but I forced myself to approach. The restitution payments are set up, I said, handing her a folder. Everything I earned from the exhibition plus my savings. It won't fix everything, but... Keep it. She looked older, grayer, but somehow more real than she'd ever been. Use it to rebuild your gallery. The right way this time. Mother, I've spent too many years trying to control my children's lives. She smoothed her jacket, a lawyer's habit. Look where that got us. Through the window, we watched Grandma Rose's police car pull away. 3 generations of Thompson women, each thinking we knew best, each leaving destruction in our wake. She loved you, you know, Mother said quietly. That wasn't a lie. Just like I loved your brothers, and you, even if I showed it wrong. The words hung between us, fragile as camera film. Father and my brothers waited in the corridor, all of us broken in different ways. Evan's real estate empire had crumbled, but he'd started over with a small local firm. Ryan was rebuilding too, focusing on ethical tech investments. Their perfect facades had shattered, revealing something more human underneath. The detective returned this. Father held out my camera, said they don't need it as evidence anymore. I took it, feeling its familiar weight. Through this lens, I tried to expose truth, then twisted it, then finally found it in the wreckage of all our lies. I have something to show you, I said. In my new studio, Annie, but mine, I unveiled the prints I'd been working on. Simple family portraits, Mother's tired smile, Father's worried hands, Ryan's quiet strength as he rebuilt, Evan's humble determination. No manipulation, no agenda, just truth. It's called reconstruction, I explained, if you'll let me show it. They studied the images, seeing themselves through my lens. Not as the perfect family we'd pretended to be, or the monsters we'd become, but as something in between, something real. When's the opening? Ryan asked. You don't have to. We want to, Evan said. This time, we'll be there. Jake appeared in the doorway, guitar case in hand. Ready for rehearsal? I nodded, gathering my camera. My family watched, uncertain of their place in this new reality. Sunday dinner, Mother said suddenly. If you want, both of you. Jake and I exchanged glances. We'll think about it. Outside, spring sunlight caught the edge of my lens, creating prisms. Through it, I saw my family emerging from the studio, damaged, healing, trying. Not perfect, not ruined, just human. You okay? Jake asked as we walked to his gig. I thought of Grandma Rose, of Mother, of the legacy of revenge and control I'd almost continued. Of the difference between exposing truth and creating it. No, I admitted, but I'm getting there. I raised my camera one last time, capturing this moment, not for an exhibition or revenge, but for myself. The light, the shadows, the complex truth of family and forgiveness. The shutter clicked, and I let it tell its own story.
"17 candles flickered on the chocolate cake before me, but all I could focus on was the sound of my parents' voices carrying through the heating vent. Their whispers had turned to hisses, sharp enough to slice through the celebration happening downstairs. We agreed to wait until after her birthday mark, Mom's voice crackled with tension. And what difference will one more day make, Lisa? She deserves to know. I'm Audrey. And this was the moment my life split in two, before and after. The vanilla frosting on my fingertips suddenly tasted like chalk as I pressed my ear closer to the vent, my party dress rustling against the hardwood floor of my bedroom. "You're the one who couldn't wait to move in with her," Mom spat. "At least I had the decency to..." "Decency?" Dad's laugh was bitter. "Is that what you call sneaking around with Ethan for months?" My stomach lurched. Ethan. The name wasn't new. He was Mom's work friend, who'd been showing up at school events and family gatherings for the past year. The one with the twin daughters who always looked at me like I was something stuck to their designer shoes. A knock at my door made me jump. "Audrey?" It was Uncle David. "Everyone's waiting downstairs, sweetheart. Your cake's melting." Just fixing my makeup," I called back, scrambling to my feet. In the mirror, my reflection showed a girl trying desperately to hold on to something already broken. The mascara I'd carefully applied was slightly smudged, and the pink dress I'd chosen suddenly felt like a costume. "For God's sake, Mark, lower your voice," Mom hissed above me. "The guests will hear." "Let them hear. I'm tired of pretending everything's fine when you've already moved half your things to his house." The world tilted sideways. Mom was moving out? To Ethan's house? I grabbed my phone, fingers trembling as I typed, "SOS, need you here now." Olivia, my best friend, would understand. She always did. The party resumed downstairs like a poorly rehearsed play. Aunt Emma's too bright smile, Uncle David's forced jokes, and my parents standing on opposite sides of the room, both checking their phones more than looking at me. The twins, Mia and Zoe, weren't here. Thank God for small mercies. "Make a wish, honey." Mom's voice was syrupy sweet, masking the venom I'd heard upstairs. I stared at the dancing flames, 17 little betrayals flickering before me. What do you wish for when your whole world is about to implode? The cake tasted like ash, but I smiled and nodded at all the right moments. Olivia arrived halfway through, squeezing my hand under the table when she saw my face. She knew. She always knew. "We have something to tell you," Dad finally said after the last guest left. He and Mom stood awkwardly in our living room, the birthday banner above them suddenly seeming like a cruel joke. "Save it." My voice came out stronger than I felt. "I heard everything through the vent. Mom's moving in with Ethan, right? And you've got someone too, Dad?" Their faces. God, their faces. Mom's perfect makeup couldn't hide her shock, and Dad's usual confidence crumbled like the remnants of my birthday cake. "Sweetheart, we were going to tell you properly." Mom started, reaching for me. I stepped back. "When? After you'd already moved all your things? After the twins had claimed my room at Ethan's house?" "That's not fair," Dad cut in. "We've both tried to make this work." "Fair?" The laugh that escaped me didn't sound like my voice at all. "You want to talk about fair? How about deciding to blow up our family on my birthday?" "It's complicated, Audrey," Mom pleaded. "We never meant to hurt you." But they had. And as I stood there, watching them fumble through their explanations and justifications, something hardened inside me. They thought they could just reshape our family like clay, molding it into whatever new form suited them best. They were wrong. I turned and walked upstairs, their voices calling after me. But I was already planning, calculating. They wanted to play happy families with their new partners? Fine. But they were about to learn that some betrayals come with consequences. And I was just getting started. The cardboard box labeled Audrey's room mocked me from the doorway of what was now supposed to be my bedroom in Ethan's house. The walls were a pristine white, sterilized of personality, just like everything else in this place. "The twins are excited to have you here," Mom said, hovering behind me. Her voice carried that artificial cheerfulness she'd been using since the divorce announcement 3 weeks ago. I set the box down harder than necessary. "Is that why they're hiding in their room instead of helping us move my stuff?" "They're adjusting, sweetheart. This is new for everyone." New. Right. Like the matching designer backpacks I'd spotted in the hallway, or the family photos already hanging on the walls. Mom, Ethan, and the twins beaming at some beach I'd never been to. The timeline of their relationship was becoming clearer with every detail I noticed. "Dinner's at 6, Mom continued. "Ethan's making his special lasagna. I have plans with Olivia. Cancel them." The cheerfulness cracked slightly. "This is our first family dinner." I turned to face her, taking in her perfectly styled hair and carefully chosen casual outfit. "We're not a family. We're the aftermath of your choices." Her face tightened. "That's enough, Audrey. I won't have you." "Won't have me what? Telling the truth?" A door slammed somewhere in the house, followed by giggling. Mom's expression shifted to relief. "Girls, come say hello to Audrey." Mia and Zoe appeared in the doorway, mirror images in their matching outfits. Zoe's smile was practiced, but Mia didn't bother hiding her disdain. "Nice room," Mia said, her eyes sliding over my boxes. "It used to be our study space." "Mia," Mom warned. "What? I'm just being honest. Like Audrey wants us to be." Zoe stepped forward, all sugar-coated venom. "We cleared out the closet for you. Most of it anyway. We still need some space for our overflow stuff." I glanced at the closet. Barely a quarter of it was empty. The rest was crammed with their designer clothes and shoes, a clear message about territory and ownership. "Thanks," I said flatly. "How thoughtful." "Girls, why don't you help Audrey unpack?" Mom suggested, desperate to manufacture some sisterly bonding. "Can't," Mia replied. "Dance practice, remember, Dad?" Ethan appeared behind them, car keys already in hand. "That's right, Princess. We should head out." He barely acknowledged me, focusing instead on Mom. "The lasagna's in the oven, 40 minutes at 350. "Perfect." Mom touched his arm, and something in their casual intimacy made my stomach turn. "Drive safe." After they left, Mom lingered, watching me unpack my life into this sterile space. "I know this is hard, but don't." I pulled out my old bedspread, the one thing that might make this room feel slightly like mine. "Just don't." She sighed, that martyred sound I was growing to hate. "Dinner's at 6. Be there." The moment she left, I grabbed my phone. "They're worse than I thought," I told Olivia over FaceTime, showing her the closet situation. "The twins have basically claimed everything already." "Total power move," Olivia agreed. "But you know what this means, right? They're threatened by you." I hadn't thought of it that way. Maybe. Definitely. They wouldn't be marking their territory if they weren't worried about their position. A notification popped up on my phone. A text from Dad. "Missing you already, kiddo. The house is too quiet." Another text followed. "Sarah's looking forward to meeting you this weekend." Sarah, his girlfriend. The other half of my parents' matching betrayals. "Oh God," Olivia said, watching my expression. "What now?" "Dad wants me to meet his girlfriend this weekend." I laughed, but it came out wrong. Apparently, everyone gets a new family except me. "Audrey? I should go. Family dinner at 6, remember? Wouldn't want to miss this picture-perfect moment." I ended the call and sat on my bare mattress, staring at the pristine walls. From downstairs, I could hear Mom talking on the phone, probably to one of her friends, spinning the situation into something prettier than it was. But as I looked around this room, this space they expected me to call home, something shifted inside me. They all thought they could reshape reality to suit themselves, but they'd forgotten something crucial. I could play that game too, and I had nothing left to lose. My grandmother's silver locket lay shattered on the bathroom floor, its delicate chain twisted like a broken promise. I stared at it, my hands shaking as I picked up the pieces. The only thing I had left of her, destroyed. "Accidents happen," Zoe said from the doorway, her innocence as fake as her designer bag. "Maybe you shouldn't leave your things in the shared bathroom." Behind her, Mia smirked. Besides, it looked kind of cheap anyway. I clutched the broken pieces, feeling the sharp edges dig into my palm. This was my grandmother's. "Was," Mia emphasized, examining her perfect manicure. The bathroom counter still held their expensive makeup scattered everywhere, taking up all the space. My small cosmetic bag had been shoved aside, teetering on the edge, just like me. "Girls?" Ethan's voice carried up the stairs. "The realtor's here." Realtor. The word hit me like ice water. I followed my stepsisters downstairs, the broken locket burning in my pocket. A woman in a crisp suit stood in our living room, my old living room, clipboard in hand. Dad's house. They were selling Dad's house. "Audrey," Mom said brightly, "look who's here to help us sell the house. Isn't it exciting?" The realtor smiled professionally. "The market's excellent right now. With your father's equity and the current rates. What equity? The words escaped before I could stop them. Dad's name isn't even on the deed anymore, is it? Mom's smile faltered. Honey, these things are complicated. I found the paperwork in your study, I continued, watching her face pale. The house transfer to Ethan's name, the new mortgage, the credit card statements. The realtor shifted uncomfortably. Ethan stepped forward, his businessman mask firmly in place. Audrey, this isn't the time. When is the time? When you've sold everything my dad worked for? When you've erased every trace of our old life? That's enough, Mom's voice cracked like a whip. Apologize to Ethan, now. I pulled out my phone instead, scrolling through the photos I'd taken of the documents. Should I apologize for finding out about the second mortgage too? Or the maxed out credit cards? Mia and Zoe had gone silent, their usual smugness replaced by something that looked almost like fear. Good. Perhaps we should reschedule, the realtor suggested, already backing toward the door. No need, Ethan said smoothly. Audrey's just processing some difficult changes. Teenagers, you know? Processing? I laughed. Is that what you call it when you steal someone's house? Audrey Marie Thompson. Mom grabbed my arm, her fingers digging in. Upstairs. Now. Why? So you can hide more secrets? Pretend everything's perfect while you destroy what's left of my life? The realtor was definitely leaving now, mumbling apologizes. Ethan's businessman mask had cracked, showing something darker underneath. Mom's grip tightened. Your father agreed to this arrangement, she hissed. He signed the papers. After you threatened to expose his affair? Yeah, I found those emails too. The silence that followed was absolute. Even the twins looked shocked. Mom's hand dropped from my arm like she'd been burned. How dare you go through my private? I pulled out the broken locket. Like this was private? Like destroying the only thing I had left of Gran was just an accident? Ethan stepped between us. Girls, go to your room. But Dad, Mia started, now. They went, but not before Zoe shot me a look that promised retaliation. I didn't care. The damage was done. You had no right, Mom whispered, her perfect facade crumbling. Those documents were confidential. Like your relationship with Ethan was confidential, while Dad and I thought you were working late? That's enough. Ethan's voice boomed. You will not speak to your mother that way in my house. Your house, I repeated. Bought with my dad's money, his reputation, his silence. Does your precious realtor know about the liens, the debt collectors? Mom's face had gone from pale to ashen. How much do you know? I met her eyes, feeling something hard and cold settle in my chest. Everything. And soon everyone else will too. The threat hung in the air between us. Mom took a step forward, but I was already turning away, the broken locket cutting into my palm as I climbed the stairs. Let them worry. Let them wonder what else I'd found, what else I might do. They thought they could erase my past, destroy my memories piece by piece, but they'd forgotten something crucial. Sometimes the things you break come back sharper than before. The spray paint dripped down the pristine white walls of my bedroom, crimson letters spelling out thief in foot-high letters. My laptop lay shattered on the floor, screen cracked like a spider's web. But what made my blood run cold was the empty space where I'd hidden the documents. All my carefully gathered evidence, gone. Mom! Mia's voice carried through the house, perfectly pitched for maximum drama. Audrey destroyed her room. Footsteps thundered up the stairs. I stood in the center of the chaos, pieces clicking into place. The twins had been too quiet lately, too well behaved. They'd been waiting. Oh my God! Mom appeared in the doorway, Ethan right behind her. Audrey, what have you done? Ask your perfect stepdaughters. My voice came out steady, despite the rage burning in my chest. Ask them about the documents they stole. Documents? Ethan's expression shifted, something calculating replacing his usual stern disapproval. What documents? Zoe appeared, eyes wide with manufactured innocence. We found her going through Dad's office last night. We tried to stop her, but... Liar. The word came out like a whip crack. Then explain this. Mom gestured at the walls, her hands shaking. Explain why you're destroying our home. Your home, I laughed. You mean the home you bought with Dad's blackmail money? Ethan stepped forward. All pretense of fatherly concern gone. Where are the papers, Audrey? Gone. I met his gaze. Somewhere safe, like the copies I made. The twins exchanged a look. Real fear this time. They hadn't known about the copies. That's enough. Ethan's voice was steel. You're grounded. No phone, no computer, no... You can't ground me. You're not my father. No, he agreed, something ugly twisting his features. Your father is a weak man who couldn't keep his family together, who couldn't even keep his house. Mom flinched. Ethan, please, lock her in. He turned to the twins. Watch her. If she tries to leave, call me immediately. You can't keep me prisoner, I said, but the click of the lock echoed with finality. Through the door, I heard Mom's protests fade down the hallway, Ethan's low voice smoothing things over. The twins stationed themselves outside, their whispered conversation a constant reminder of my captivity. My phone was gone, taken by Ethan. But they hadn't found the burner phone Uncle David had given me, hidden in a hollow book. Another thing they'd overlooked while searching my room. I pulled it out, fingers trembling as I typed, "It's happening. They found the documents, need extraction." The response came quickly. On my way, 20 minutes, be ready. I looked around the destroyed room at the evidence of their desperation. They thought they'd won, thought they'd contained the threat, but they'd forgotten about the email I'd scheduled to send automatically if I didn't stop it by midnight. An email containing everything I'd discovered, set to reach every board member of Ethan's company, every family friend, every person they'd been trying to impress. A soft tap at the window made me jump. Olivia crouched on the roof outside, her face grim. She'd used the old oak tree, our escape route since middle school. "Jesus, Audrey," she whispered as I eased the window open. What did they do? Tried to frame me. Failed. I grabbed my emergency bag from under the bed. The twins are outside. Not anymore. Her smile was fierce. I told them their car was being towed. They ran to check. Below, I could hear their panicked voices, the sound of running feet. Perfect. Uncle David's waiting 2 blocks over, Olivia said, helping me onto the roof. You sure about this? I thought about the broken locket, the stolen house, the countless small cruelties. They wanted to lock me away, make me disappear. But I'm not the one who's going to disappear. The oak tree creaked as we climbed down, autumn leaves providing cover. In the distance, a car engine idled, Uncle David waiting to help me turn the tables. Let them find my empty room. Let them discover what real betrayal feels like. They thought they could cage me, control me, break me down piece by piece. But they were about to learn. Sometimes the prey becomes the predator, and I was done being prey. Uncle David's study smelled like old books and secrets. I sat in his leather chair, surrounded by the evidence I'd gathered, while Aunt Emma placed a steaming mug of tea beside me. The automated email had gone out hours ago. By now, Ethan's board members would be reading everything. Your mother's called 6 times, Uncle David said, checking his phone. Ethan's called twice that many. Let them. I spread out the documents across his desk. Bank statements, transfer records, emails. They're probably discovering what happens when their perfect world crashes. Aunt Emma touched the broken locket around my neck. She'd helped me repair it with gold wire, making the cracks part of its beauty. Are you sure about this, sweetheart? Once you start down this path, the doorbell rang, its chime echoing through the house. Through the study window, I saw Mom's car in the driveway, Ethan's right behind it. I'll handle this, Uncle David said, but I stood up. No, I will. My hands didn't shake as I opened the front door. Mom burst in, mascara smeared, clutching her phone. What have you done? Exactly what you taught me, I replied. I protected myself. Ethan shouldered past her, his business suit wrinkled, eyes wild. Do you have any idea what you've caused? The board is calling an emergency meeting. My investors are discovering how you really built your empire. I stepped back, letting them follow me into the study. With blackmail and fraud? It wasn't like that, Mom pleaded. We were trying to build something better for all of us. Better? I picked up a document from Uncle David's desk. Like forcing Dad to sign over his house by threatening to expose his affair, or helping Ethan hide money from his ex-wife, the twins' mother. Ethan went still. How did you find out? The same way you taught your daughters to go through my things. I learned to look deeper. Mom sank into a chair, her perfect facade crumbling. We never meant to hurt you. No, you just meant to hurt everyone else. I turned to Ethan. Does your board know about the offshore accounts? The shell companies? His face contorted. You little... Careful. Uncle David cut in, his voice steel. Think very carefully about your next words. A car door slammed outside. Through the window, I saw Dad getting out of his car, looking lost in a way I'd never seen before. The police will be involved, Ethan said, trying to regain control. This is corporate espionage. Actually, Aunt Emma spoke up, it's whistleblowing, and Audrey has excellent documentation. The front door opened again. Dad's voice carried down the hallway. Lisa, what's going on? The board just called me. He appeared in the doorway, stopping short at the sight of us all. His eyes found mine, recognition dawning. You, he whispered. You did this? I learned from the best, I said. All of you taught me how to destroy a family. Mom started crying, soft broken sounds that would have moved me weeks ago. Now they just fueled my resolve. The board meeting's in an hour, I continued, gathering the documents. They'll want to know about the missing funds, the forged signatures, everything. Please, Mom reached for me. We can fix this. We're still family. Family? I pulled away. Family doesn't lock each other in rooms. Family doesn't destroy precious memories or steal houses or send emails destroying lives. Dad's voice was quiet. The words hit like a slap. I looked at them all. Mom's tears, Dad's disappointment, Ethan's rage, Uncle David and Aunt Emma's concern. You're right, I said finally. I learned destruction from experts. I picked up my grandmother's repaired locket, its golden scars catching the light. But I also learned something else, something none of you figured out. What's that? Mom whispered. That broken things don't always break even. I moved toward the door, documents in hand. Sometimes they break free. Behind me, Ethan started making threats. Mom began pleading again, and Dad just stood there, silent. But I was already walking away, toward Uncle David's car, toward the board meeting that would change everything. They'd taught me how to break things. Now I would teach them how it felt to be broken. And maybe, just maybe, we'd all learn how to put ourselves back together again. The boardroom felt like a tomb, all polished wood and accusatory silence. 12 pairs of eyes watched me from around the massive table as I laid out the evidence, every dirty secret, every hidden transaction. My hands didn't shake, but my heart hammered against my ribs like it was trying to escape. These are serious allegations, the chairman said, his voice carefully neutral, especially coming from a teenager. A teenager who had access to private corporate documents, another board member added, her tone sharp. How did you obtain these, Miss Thompson? Before I could answer, the doors burst open. Ethan strode in, followed by his lawyer. The twins appeared behind them, and my stomach dropped. They shouldn't be here. This meeting is a farce, Ethan announced. My stepdaughter broke into my home office, stole confidential documents. After you locked me in my room, I cut in. After you and your daughters destroyed my belongings. Mia stepped forward, tears streaming down her face. That's not true. We loved you, Audrey. We tried to be family, but you were so angry, so jealous. Jealous, I laughed, the sound brittle. Of what? Your perfect little act? Of our mother, Zoe said quietly. Our real mother. The one Dad kept from us, just like these documents show. The room went still. I looked at the twins, really looked at them, and saw something I'd missed before, pain that mirrored my own. Is this true? The chairman turned to Ethan. Did you hide assets from your first wife? He did more than that, I said, pulling out the final document. He forged her signature, Mia finished. We knew. We always knew. Ethan's face went white. Girls, we thought if we helped you hide things from Audrey, you'd finally tell us the truth, Zoe continued. About Mom, about the money, about everything. The victory I'd imagined crumbled as I watched the twins break down. They weren't the enemy. They were just like me, pawns in our parents' games. This isn't about corporate fraud anymore, the chairman said gravely. This is a family matter that spilled into our boardroom. No, I protested. This is about justice. Is it? Mia's voice cracked. Or is it about hurting people before they can hurt you? The documents in my hands suddenly felt heavy, poisonous. I'd been so focused on revenge, I'd become exactly what I hated. The police have been called, Ethan's lawyer announced. Breaking and entering, theft of corporate documents. Your client committed actual crimes, I shot back, but my voice wavered. And you committed several trying to expose them, he replied smoothly. How does that make you different? The chairman stood. This meeting is adjourned pending a full investigation. Security will escort everyone out. As guards appeared at the doors, I saw Mom in the hallway, crying into Uncle David's shoulder. Dad stood nearby, looking lost. The perfect families everyone had tried to build were shattering, and I'd helped swing the hammer. Was it worth it? Zoe asked as we were let out. Destroying everything? I touched my grandmother's repaired locket, its golden scars catching the fluorescent light. I thought it would feel different. It never does, she replied, and I realized she was speaking from experience. Revenge just makes you more alone. Outside, police cars were arriving, their lights painting everything in harsh red and blue. The evidence I'd gathered would expose Ethan's crimes, but at what cost? I'd become so focused on breaking them, I'd broken something in myself too. Olivia appeared from nowhere, keys in hand. Time to go. Running won't help, Ethan called after me. You'll just prove you're exactly what they think you are. But as I slid into Olivia's car, watching my fractured family in the rearview mirror, I realized he was wrong. I wasn't what they thought I was. I was worse. And now I had to live with that. The police station's fluorescent lights cast harsh shadows across Mom's face as she sat across from me in the interview room. Her designer outfit looked wrinkled, her makeup smeared, the perfect facade finally cracking. Drop the charges, she said quietly. We can still fix this. Like you fixed Dad's life? Or the twins' mother? I traced the scar on my palm where the broken locket had cut me. Some things can't be fixed. You don't understand what you've done. Her voice trembled. Ethan's being indicted. The company's shares are plummeting. Your father is facing fraud charges too, I know. The words tasted like ash. That's what happens when secrets come out. The door opened. Ethan's twins entered, followed by a social worker. They looked smaller somehow, their matching outfits replaced by worn hoodies and jeans. Tell them, Mia demanded, her eyes red-rimmed. Tell them you lied about everything. But I didn't lie. I met their gaze. You know I didn't. Our mother called, Zoe said. First time in 3 years. She wants to know if what the papers are saying is true. About Dad hiding money from her. About the forged documents. Mom reached for them, but they stepped back. Girls, please. Don't. Mia's voice cracked. You knew too. About everything. You helped him keep us from her. The revelation hung in the air like smoke. I looked at my mother, really looked at her, and saw something I'd missed before. The same calculated manipulation she'd accused Ethan of. Is that why you chose him? I asked. Because you recognized yourself? Her face crumpled. I chose him because he understood. About doing whatever it takes to build something perfect. Perfect? Zoe laughed bitterly. Is that what you call this? The social worker stepped forward. Girls, we need to discuss your temporary living arrangements. They'll stay with me, a new voice said. We all turned to see the twins' mother in the doorway, a woman I'd only seen in old photos. She looked tired but determined. I've already filed for emergency custody. You can't, Mom started, but the woman cut her off. Like you couldn't tell me where my daughters were for 3 years? Her smile was sharp. The court disagreed. My phone buzzed. A text from Olivia. News is everywhere. You okay? Was I? I looked at the wreckage around me. Mom's tears, the twins' confusion, their mother's righteous anger. I'd wanted justice, but this felt like something else entirely. Audrey, Mom pleaded, think about what you're destroying. Our family was destroyed the moment you decided lies were more important than love. I stood up, my chair scraping against the floor. I just exposed the truth you all tried to bury. And what did it cost you? Mia asked quietly. Look at yourself. You're just as alone as we are now. She was right. In my quest for revenge, I'd become what I hated most, someone who broke things to feel powerful. The social worker checked her watch. The detective needs to continue your statement, Audrey. I nodded, touching my grandmother's repaired locket one last time. The golden scars caught the harsh light, reminding me that broken things could be beautiful, but only if you were honest about the breaks. I'm sorry, I said, surprising myself. Not for exposing the truth, but for becoming like you all in the process. What happens now? Zoe asked, her voice small. Now? I looked at each of them. Mom, the twins, their mother. Now we learn to live with the truth. All of it. As I walked out, leaving them with their shattered illusions, I felt something shift inside me. The satisfaction I'd expected from my revenge was hollow, but something else was taking its place. Understanding, maybe. Or forgiveness. Not of them, but of myself. Because in the end, the perfect family we'd all tried to force into existence was just another lie. And sometimes, breaking apart was the only way to build something real from the pieces, even if those pieces would never fit together quite the same way again. Uncle David's attic held the last pieces of my old life, packed away in cardboard boxes. As I sorted through them, a letter fell from between my grandmother's photo albums, yellowed paper, her elegant handwriting still crisp after all these years. Found something? Aunt Emma asked from the doorway. I unfolded the letter carefully. It's dated 3 days before she died. My dearest Audrey, the letter began. By the time you read this, you'll understand that families break in ways that can't always be mended. But remember, broken pieces can create new patterns if you're brave enough to arrange them differently. The doorbell rang downstairs. Through the attic window, I saw Mia and Zoe on the porch, looking smaller than I remembered. It had been 2 weeks since the police station, since everything fell apart. They've been calling, Aunt Emma said softly. Every day this week. I know. I touched my repaired locket. Their mom got custody. And your mother? Agreed to therapy. Not that it matters now. I folded the letter carefully. Dad's plea deal went through yesterday. Aunt Emma's hand touched my shoulder. You don't have to see them. But I was already heading downstairs, grandmother's letter in my pocket. The twins looked up as I opened the door, their usual confidence replaced by something more fragile. We found this, Mia said, holding out a small wooden box. In Dad's study, after they seized everything. I recognized it immediately. My grandmother's jewelry box, the one that had disappeared during the move. We didn't know what it was then, Zoe added quickly. We just did what Dad asked, hid things he gave us. Like you hid the truth about your mother? The words came out sharper than intended. Yes. Mia's voice cracked. Like that. I took the box, feeling its familiar weight. Inside, tangled with old necklaces, was a key I recognized. To my father's house, the one Ethan had claimed. The prosecutors said we could give it back, Zoe explained, since it wasn't part of everything else. Why are you really here? They exchanged looks, mirror images of uncertainty. Because we understand now, Mia said finally, about wanting to break things that hurt you. But we also understand about trying to fix them, Zoe added. I thought about my grandmother's letter, about broken pieces and new patterns. Some things can't be fixed. No, Mia agreed, but maybe they can be rebuilt, differently. From my pocket, I pulled out my phone, showing them the unsent email I'd been staring at for days, the one that would expose the last of Ethan's secrets, destroying what little remained of their family's reputation. Do it, Zoe said quietly, if it helps you heal. We understand now. But as I looked at them, really looked at them, I saw what my revenge had created. 2 girls as broken as I was, trying to build something real from the ruins of their lives. I deleted the email. Your mother, I said finally. Is she better than the lies we were told? Mia smiled slightly. Different than we imagined, but real. Real is good, I said, thinking of my grandmother's words. Real we can work with. They nodded, understanding what I wasn't saying. We weren't friends, might never be family, but we were something else now. Survivors of the same storm, learning to rebuild. The prosecutors want to talk to us again next week, Zoe mentioned, about Dad's other accounts. I know. I touched my locket. I'll be there. They turned to leave, but Mia paused. For what it's worth, we're sorry about everything. Me too, I said and meant it. After they left, I sat on the porch steps, reading my grandmother's letter again. The evening light caught the golden scars of my repaired locket, reminding me that some breaks become part of the pattern, telling stories of what was lost and what was found. I couldn't fix what was broken, not the families we'd lost, not the trust we'd shattered. But maybe, like the locket, we could create something new from the pieces, something real, with all its scars and imperfections, something true, and maybe that was enough.
I stare at the birthday cake, watching 45 tiny flames dance across the frosting. Each one mocks me, reminding me how many years I've wasted believing family meant something sacred. My son Jason stands behind his wife Emily, his hands on her shoulders, while she wears that plastic smile I've grown to despise. "Make a wish, Mother," Emily says, her voice dripping with artificial sweetness. I close my eyes, not because I believe in wishes anymore, but because I need a moment to compose myself. The room feels smaller than it did this morning, like the walls of my own home are closing in around me. "Come on, Mom," Jason urges, and I hear that new edge in his voice, the one that appeared right after he married her. I'm Summer, and this is the last birthday I'll celebrate in my own house, though I don't know it yet. The flames blur as I lean forward. One breath, and they're gone, leaving only wisps of smoke and the lingering scent of burnt wax. The silence that follows feels heavy, loaded with unspoken accusations. "Well," Emily says, already reaching for the knife, "let's cut this, shall we?" "I can cut my own cake," I say, reaching for the knife. Our fingers brush, and she pulls back as if burned. "I'm only trying to help, Summer. You always make everything so difficult." "Do I?" I set the knife down harder than necessary. "Like when I helped with the wedding? Or when I watched Lily every weekend while you two were finding yourselves during that spiritual retreat?" Jason steps forward. "Mom, please, not today." "When then, Jason? When do I get to speak in my own home?" Emily's face hardens. "About that." She glances at Jason, who suddenly finds the floor fascinating. "We've been meaning to talk to you." The cake sits forgotten between us, its perfect white frosting starting to sag in the afternoon heat. Lily, my granddaughter, shifts uncomfortably in her chair, her phone forgotten in her lap. "We think it's time for a change," Emily continues. "This arrangement, it's not working anymore." "Arrangement?" The word tastes bitter. "This is my house. I raised Jason here after his father died. And we're grateful," Emily says, though her tone suggests anything but. "But Jason and I need our own space, to grow as a family." "We are a family." "Mom," Jason finally looks up, and I see Emily's influence in his eyes. "We found you a nice apartment. It's close to the community center, and—" "You what?" The room spins slightly. "You've been planning this? Behind my back?" "Don't be dramatic," Emily sighs. "We're trying to help you start fresh. You're still young enough to build your own life." I laugh, and it sounds strange even to my ears. My life is here, with my son, my granddaughter. "That's the problem." Emily steps closer, dropping her voice. "You can't let go. You're suffocating us with your presence." The knife gleams on the table between us. I watch my hand reach for it, not to threaten, just to hold something solid while my world crumbles. Emily flinches backward. "Jason, see? This is exactly what I've been telling you." "Mom, put the knife down." Jason's voice shakes. "You're proving her point." I wasn't. But it doesn't matter what I wasn't going to do. The story's already written in their minds. "You have until tomorrow evening," Emily says, her voice steady now that she has the upper hand. "We'll help you pack." "Tomorrow?" The word comes out as a whisper. "You're giving me 24 hours to leave my home?" "It's for the best." Jason won't meet my eyes anymore. "We'll make sure you're settled." Lily stands suddenly, tears streaming down her face, and runs upstairs. Nobody follows her. I look at the cake, at the smoke still rising from the candles, at the knife in my trembling hand. 45 years of memories in this house, and they're giving me 24 hours to pack them away. Happy birthday to me, I say, and carefully set the knife down. Won't give them the satisfaction of seeing me break. Not yet. But as I walk upstairs to start packing, I make a different kind of wish. One that has nothing to do with candles and everything to do with justice. The motel room smells like stale cigarettes and broken dreams. 3 cardboard boxes contain what's left of my life: photo albums, legal documents, and the few precious mementos I managed to grab before Jason practically shoved me out the door. Mark sits in the threadbare armchair, watching me pace between the bed and window. You need to eat something, Summer. He pushes a takeout container toward me. I need my house back. My fingers trace the windowsill, collecting dust. You should have seen Emily's face when she called the police, like she was the victim. She called the cops? Mark straightens in his chair. When I refused to leave, said I was trespassing. A bitter laugh escapes me. In my own home, the one I paid off 15 years ago. What about the deed? In Jason's name. I transferred it last year when... I stopped pacing. When Emily suggested it would help them qualify for a better mortgage rate. God, I was so stupid. Mark's phone buzzes. He glances at it, then holds it out to me. Speaking of Emily, it's a social media post, a photo of Emily, Jason, and Lily in front of my house. The caption reads, "Fresh start for our little family. Sometimes the hardest choices are the most necessary. Hashtag blessed, family first." The phone slips from my trembling fingers onto the bed. She's already redecorating, I whisper. Lily texted me pictures. They're painting over the height marks on the kitchen doorframe. 22 years of measuring Jason, gone under a coat of Moroccan sunset, or whatever the hell Emily calls it. Summer! A knock at the door cuts him off. We freeze, exchanging glances. Another knock, more insistent. Mom? Jason's voice. I know you're in there. Mark's car is outside. Mark raises an eyebrow, asking silently if I want him to answer. I shake my head and move to the door myself, taking a deep breath before opening it. Jason stands there, holding a small box. He looks uncomfortable in his expensive button-down shirt. Emily's taste, not his. You forgot some things, he says, not quite meeting my eyes. Did I forget them, or did you prevent me from taking them? He shifts his weight. Emily we thought you might want these. He holds out the box. Inside are some old Christmas ornaments and a few framed photos. How generous of you both. The words taste like acid. Tell me, was this before or after she changed the locks? Mom, please. You're making this harder than it needs to be. Am I? Tell me, Jason, when did you start believing her lies about me? Was it before or after she convinced you to put the house in your name? His face hardens. Emily was right. You always do this. Twist everything to make yourself the victim. The victim? I step closer, forcing him to look at me. I raised you alone after your father died. I worked 2 jobs to keep that house. I was there for every scraped knee, every broken heart, every triumph and failure. And now you're throwing me away like yesterday's garbage because your wife decided I'm inconvenient? That's not... He runs a hand through his hair, a gesture so familiar it hurts. You're suffocating us, Mom. Always hovering, always judging Emily's decisions about our family. Your family? The laugh that escapes me sounds foreign, almost hysterical. I'm your family! And Emily is my wife! He shouts back, then immediately looks around, embarrassed by his outburst. Look, we've set up an account for you. There's enough money for a few months' rent while you figure things out. I stare at him, this stranger wearing my son's face. Keep your money. And your pity. Mom! Tell Emily congratulations. I start to close the door. She finally got what she wanted. What's that supposed to mean? Ask her about Richard. The name makes him flinch. Ask her what happened to her last husband's mother. Or better yet, don't. Ignorance seems to be working so well for you. I shut the door on his confused face and lean against it, listening to his footsteps fade away. When I turn around, Mark is watching me with a mixture of concern and admiration. "Richard?" he asks. "Emily's ex-husband." I move to the window, watching Jason's car pull away. "I did some digging last night. Turns out I'm not the first mother-in-law she's displaced, just the latest in a pattern." "Summer," Mark's voice carries a warning. "What are you planning?" I touch the window glass, cool and solid under my fingers. "I'm planning to show my son exactly who he married, and this time, I'm not playing nice." The coffee shop feels too bright, too normal for the conversation we're about to have. Derek, Emily's brother, sits across from me, his fingers drumming against his cup. Mark arranged this meeting, calling in favors I didn't know he had. "Emily doesn't know I'm here," Derek says, his voice barely above a whisper. "If she found out, she won't." I lean forward. "But I need to understand what happened with Richard." Derek's fingers stop drumming. "Richard was a mistake, like the others." "Others?" He glances around the cafe, paranoid. "Emily has a pattern. She finds men with close family ties, especially to their mothers. Strong families fascinate her because we never had one." A barista drops a cup somewhere behind us, and Derek jumps. I notice the slight tremor in his hands, the dark circles under his eyes. "You're afraid of her," I realize. "You don't know what she's capable of." He pulls out his phone, scrolls through photos. Richard's mother, Margaret, before Emily. He shows me a picture of a vibrant woman in her 60s, surrounded by family. And after, the next photo shows the same woman, but diminished somehow. Isolated, broken. Emily convinced Richard that Margaret was manipulating him, trying to control their marriage. Sound familiar? Derek's laugh is hollow. Within a year, Margaret was in a nursing home. Richard thought it was his idea. My coffee turns bitter in my mouth. And Richard? Lost everything in the divorce. Emily had already transferred most of their assets. Derek swallows hard. He didn't survive the winter. They called it an accident. The cafe suddenly feels airless. Are you saying? I'm not saying anything. Derek's voice sharpens. I'm just telling you what happened. What always happens. A text lights up my phone. It's from Lily. Grandma, something's wrong. Mom found your old letters to Dad. She's burning them in the backyard. My hands start shaking. Those letters, written to Jason's father before he died, were all I had left of him. Excuse me, I manage to say, standing so quickly my chair scrapes against the floor. Derek grabs my wrist. Wait, there's more you need to know. My letters. Emily's pregnant. The words hit like a physical blow. I sink back into my chair. She told the family last night. Derek won't meet my eyes. She's using it to cement her position. Jason's overjoyed. She's 40, I whisper. She told Jason she couldn't have more children. That's why they never... Emily always knows what she needs to survive. Derek finally looks at me. The baby will give her total control. You'll never get Jason back now. Another text from Lily. Mom's saying weird things about you, about how you tried to poison her relationship with Dad from the beginning. She has proof. Proof? I say out loud. Derek's expression changes. Oh God, the diary. What diary? Emily keeps a diary of evidence, things she twists and manipulates. Conversations taken out of context, innocent moments reframed as threats. She's been doing it for years. My phone buzzes again. This time it's from Jason. How could you, Mom? Emily showed me everything. Don't contact us again. The cafe walls start closing in. Derek reaches across the table, his voice urgent. Listen to me. You can't fight her directly. She's already positioned you as the villain. The pregnant wife versus the jealous mother-in-law. Who do you think people will believe? Then what am I supposed to do? Watch her destroy everything I have left? No. Derek pulls out a USB drive, slides it across the table. You're supposed to be smarter than Margaret was, than Richard was, than I was. What's on it? Everything. Financial records, medical records, the truth about what happened to Richard. He stands up. But be careful. Emily has friends in strange places. If she suspects you have this, why are you helping me? Derek pauses, and for a moment, I see the weight of years of guilt in his eyes. Because someone needs to stop her, and because I'm tired of watching mothers lose their children. He walks away, leaving me with a USB drive that feels like it weighs 1,000 pounds and another text from Lily. Grandma, please. Mom's different when you're not around. I'm scared. I close my eyes, feeling the weight of every decision that led to this moment. When I open them, I know what I have to do. Emily wanted a war. Now she'll get one. The USB drive sits on Mark's kitchen table like a loaded gun. My laptop hums as it copies Richard's financial records, each file a bullet aimed at Emily's carefully constructed life. You're crossing a line here, Mark says, pouring more wine. Once you start this, there's no going back. I scroll through another document, my fingers trembling slightly. Emily crossed the line when she burned those letters. Summer? Look at this! I turn the screen toward him. 3 months before Richard's accident, Emily transferred nearly everything into offshore accounts. The timing... A knock at the door freezes us both. Mark moves to answer it, but I grab his arm. Through the window, I catch a glimpse of Lily's face, tear-streaked and pale. Jesus, Mark whispers, opening the door. Lily, what happened? She bursts in, looking over her shoulder, like she's being chased. Mom's lost it. She's telling everyone you're mentally unstable, Grandma. That you've been stalking her, threatening her and the baby. My stomach turns. What baby? She's pregnant, Lily's voice cracks. But that's not... I found something in her study. About Richard. The USB drive feels heavy in my pocket. What about him? Pictures, documents. She has this whole file about how she... Lily stops, wrapping her arms around herself. I think she hurt him, really hurt him. And now she's saying things about you that sound just like... Headlights sweep across the windows. Lily freezes. That's Dad's car, she whispers. I didn't tell them I was coming here. Mark moves quickly, grabbing my laptop. Back door, now. We slip into the darkness of his backyard, just as Jason's voice carries through the house. Mark? We know they're here. Lily grabs my hand, pulling me toward the garden gate. Mom has the police on speed dial. She's going to say you kidnapped me. I didn't. I know. She squeezes my hand. But she has evidence. She always has evidence. We make it to my car, parked a block away. As I start the engine, I see Emily emerge from Jason's car, one hand protectively over her stomach. Even from here, I can see her triumphant smile. She's going to destroy you like she destroyed Richard's mother, Lily says as we pull away. Unless what? Unless we destroy her first. Lily pulls out her phone, showing me a video. I recorded her talking to someone named Marcus last week. About Richard's accident. About what really happened. My hands tighten on the steering wheel. Lily, are you sure you want to? She's poisoning Dad against everyone who loves him, just like she did with Richard. Lily's voice hardens. And now there's going to be another baby, another person for her to control. Police sirens wail in the distance. I take a sharp turn, heading toward the highway. Where are we going? Lily asks. Somewhere safe. I glance at her. But first, you need to understand what you're getting into. This isn't just about exposing Emily anymore. This is about survival. I know. She clutches her phone like a weapon. That's why I made copies. Of everything. My phone buzzes with a text from Mark. Emily filed a restraining order. Police are looking for you both. Be careful. Another message follows, from Jason. How could you take my daughter? Emily's having contractions from the stress. If anything happens to our baby... I switch off the phone, feeling something cold and certain settle in my chest. Emily wanted to paint me as the villain? Fine. Sometimes the only way to fight a monster is to become one. Grandma? Lily's voice is small in the darkness. What are we going to do? I think of the USB drive in my pocket, of Richard's mysterious accident, of Emily's perfectly crafted evidence. We're going to give your mother exactly what she expects. Sometimes the best way to spring a trap is to step right into it. The highway stretches ahead, dark and empty. Behind us, blue lights flash in the distance. But for the first time since this all began, I'm not running away. I'm running towards something. and Emily has no idea what's coming. The motel room feels like a cage. Lily sleeps fitfully on one bed while I sit at the small desk, sifting through Richard's financial records on my laptop. Each document reveals another layer of Emily's manipulation: bank transfers, forged signatures, carefully orchestrated accidents. My phone vibrates. A text from an unknown number. "Meet me at Riverside Park, 1 a.m. Come alone. Derek." I glance at Lily, then at the clock. 12:37 a.m. The park is deserted when I arrive. Streetlights casting long shadows across empty benches. Derek emerges from behind a tree, looking more haunted than ever. "Emily knows about the USB drive," he says without preamble. "She's already moved the money." "What money?" "The insurance payout from Richard's death. She's been keeping it in a hidden account, but now..." He runs a hand through his hair. "She's desperate, Summer. She's talking about leaving the country." "With my son?" "With everything. The baby, Jason's inheritance, all of it." He steps closer. But that's not the worst part. A twig snaps somewhere in the darkness. Derek flinches. "Marcus is back," he whispers. "The man who helped her with Richard's accident. I saw them meeting yesterday." Cold fear grips my spine. "You think she's planning?" "I think she's cornered, and cornered animals are the most dangerous." He presses something into my hand, a burner phone. "If anything happens to me, everything I know is on here. The real story about Richard, about our parents, about..." Headlights sweep across the park. Derek disappears into the shadows as a familiar car pulls up. Emily steps out, her pregnancy barely showing under her expensive coat. "Well," she says, smiling that perfect smile, "isn't this cozy?" "How did you..." "Derek's always been predictable," she pats her stomach. "Family loyalty only goes so far, doesn't it?" More cars arrive. Jason emerges from one, looking confused. 2 police cruisers block the park exits. "Officers," Emily calls out, her voice trembling perfectly. "This is her, the woman who's been threatening me and my unborn child." "That's not true." "We have the evidence, Mrs. Harrison," one officer says, approaching with handcuffs. "Multiple witnesses saw you following Mrs. Harrison today. We found threatening notes." "What notes?" Emily pulls out familiar-looking paper, the same type I used for those letters to Jason's father, the ones she burned. "You're sick, Summer. You need help." "Jason," I turn to my son, "you can't believe this." But he's looking at the ground again, one arm around Emily's shoulders. "The doctors said the stress could harm the baby, Mom. You have to stop." "The baby that conveniently appeared right when you needed it?" The words escape before I can stop them. Emily's face crumples in practiced anguish. "How dare you? First Richard's baby, now mine." "What did you say about Richard's baby?" Something flashes across Emily's face, real fear quickly masked. "Officers, please, I don't feel safe." As they approach with handcuffs, I make a decision. I reach for my phone, ready to send everything on that USB drive to every contact I have. Emily sees the movement. "She's got a weapon!" Everything happens at once. The officers lunge forward. Jason shouts. Emily smirks. And in that split second, I see it all. How perfectly she's orchestrated this moment. How completely she's turned my own son against me. But she's forgotten one thing. "Mom!" Lily's voice rings out across the park. She steps into the light, holding up her phone. "I got it all. The whole conversation, including what you just said about Richard's baby." Emily's mask slips. For just a moment, I see the real her, the calculating predator beneath the perfect wife facade. "Lily," she says, reaching out. "Sweetheart, you don't understand." "I understand everything." Lily's voice shakes but holds firm. "And so will the police, once they see what's really on that USB drive. The one Derek gave you tonight wasn't the only copy." The park falls silent, except for the soft whir of police radios. Emily's hand drops to her stomach, but this time the gesture looks less protective and more like she's holding on to her last weapon. Jason looks between us all, lost and confused, and I realize this is it, the moment where everything either falls apart or comes together. The truth is within reach, but so is total destruction. The question is, which path leads to which? The police station's fluorescent lights make everything look sickly and unreal. I sit in the interrogation room, my wrists raw from the handcuffs, while Detective Morris reads through Emily's carefully crafted evidence. Multiple threatening messages, he says, spreading out papers. Stalking complaints, witness statements about your erratic behavior. Those are forgeries. Like the USB drive you claim to have? He raises an eyebrow. The one our tech team couldn't access? My stomach drops. I think of Derek's face in the park, his warning about Emily moving money. Of course she'd have someone ready to corrupt the files. The door opens. Emily walks in, supported by Jason. She looks perfectly fragile in her designer maternity dress. "I'll make this brief," she says, touching her stomach. "The doctors are concerned about my blood pressure." "You don't have to be here," Jason tells her, all protective concern. "I do." She dabs at her eyes with a tissue. "Summer needs to understand what she's doing to this family." Detective Morris steps out, giving us privacy. I notice he leaves the door slightly open, probably recording everything. "Drop the act," I say. "We both know you're not really pregnant." Emily's face crumples. "Jason, do you hear how she's still trying to hurt us? Even now?" "Mom, stop." Jason's voice is hard. "We have the medical records, the ultrasounds, forged like everything else about her. Like Richard's baby?" Emily's voice turns sharp. "The one you claim What exactly are you accusing me of, Summer?" The trap springs shut. I realize too late what she's done. Led me straight into making accusations that sound completely unhinged. "Tell them about Marcus," I try. "About the insurance money." "Marcus?" Emily looks confused. "Jason, isn't that the name of your mother's imaginary friend from her diary?" "What diary?" She pulls out a worn notebook. My handwriting, but words I never wrote. Pages of paranoid ramblings about conspiracies and imaginary conversations. "We found it when we were packing her things," Emily says softly. "That's when we realized how sick she'd become." "That's not mine." "Mom," Jason steps forward, "we've arranged for you to get help. A facility in Vermont." "No!" I stand up so quickly my chair crashes backward. "I'm not crazy. Lily has proof. She recorded." "Lily's recording was corrupted," Emily interrupts. "Just like that mysterious USB drive. Technology can be so unreliable when you're unstable." The walls seem to close in. "Where is Lily?" "Safe," Emily says. "Away from your influence." "What did you do to her?" "She's at a boarding school in Switzerland," Jason says, "where you can't reach her." My legs give out. I sink to the floor, understanding finally hitting me. Emily hasn't just taken my son and my home. She's taken my granddaughter, my evidence, my credibility, everything. "The facility has an excellent success rate," Emily continues, her voice dripping with fake concern. "Once you're better, maybe we can discuss supervised visits. With the baby." She takes Jason's hand, placing it on her stomach. The gesture is so perfectly calculated, it makes me sick. "You won't get away with this," I whisper. Emily leans down, her mask slipping for just a moment. "I already have. Richard tried to expose me too, right before his accident. And Derek, well, accidents happen all the time." "What did you say about Derek?" She straightens up, mask back in place. "Oh dear, she's getting agitated. Jason, perhaps we should—" "I'll call the doctor," he says, reaching for his phone. "No, wait!" "But the serum already leaving." "Gee." Emily's theatrical sniffles echoing down the hall. Detective Morris returns with a psychiatrist. They speak in low voices about involuntary commitment, about my paranoid delusions. My phone sits on the table, dead and useless. The USB drive is corrupted. Lily is gone. Derek is... I don't want to think about what Emily's words implied about Derek. Through the window, I watch Emily and Jason walk to their car. She turns back, just for a moment, and smiles. That same smile she wore when she burned my letters, when she took my home, when she stole my son. The psychiatrist approaches with admission papers, and I realize with cold clarity that this isn't rock bottom. This is just the beginning of how far Emily plans to make me fall. The psychiatric facility's garden is beautiful, but it's still a cage. 3 weeks of medication and therapy have left me foggy, compliant, exactly what Emily wanted. I watch other patients shuffle through their daily routines, wondering if they too were put here by someone else's lies. Then Mark appears on my scheduled visiting day, and everything changes. "Derek's alive," he says without preamble. He's in intensive care, but he's talking. The fog in my mind clears instantly. What happened? Car accident that wasn't an accident. He recorded everything before Emily's guy ran him off the road, including her confession about Richard's death. My hands shake as I process this. The USB drive was a decoy. The real evidence is with Richard's sister in Boston. She's been building a case against Emily for years. A nurse watches us suspiciously from across the garden. I lower my voice. "Why are you telling me this now?" "Because Emily's planning to leave the country tonight. Private jet to Switzerland, where Lily is." Mark's eyes meet mine. "She's taking Jason and the insurance money. All of it. She can't. She can. Unless what?" Mark slips me a phone and a key card. "Unless you stop playing by her rules." The next hours blur together. A fire alarm. Confusion in the halls. Somehow, I'm in Mark's car, racing toward the private airfield where Emily's escape plan is already in motion. We arrive to see Emily directing movers loading a private jet. Jason helps, looking lost and tired. There's no sign of her pregnancy bump anymore. No need to maintain that lie when she's about to disappear. "Hello, Emily." She spins around, her perfect mask slipping for just a moment. "How did you— Jason, call security." "Before you do that," I hold up my phone, "you might want to hear what your brother has to say." Derek's recorded voice fills the air. "Emily arranged everything. Richard's accident, the insurance fraud, all of it. She's done this before, and she'll do it again." "Lies!" Emily snaps. But Jason has stopped moving, really listening for the first time. "The baby was a lie too," I continue. "Just like it was with Richard. Just like everything about you is a lie." "Jason!" Emily's voice turns sugary. "Your mother is clearly having another episode. We should..." "Should what?" I step closer. "Have me committed? Stage another accident? How many people have you destroyed, Emily?" "I don't know what you're talking about," but her eyes dart toward the jet. "Richard's sister sends her regards. She's very interested in reopening the investigation into her brother's death." Emily's mask cracks completely. "You stupid woman! You have no idea what you're doing. Jason, get in the plane." "Jason," I say quietly, "check her phone. Look for messages from Marcus about Derek's accident." "Don't you dare!" Emily lunges for Jason, but he's already got her phone, reading with growing horror. "Mom?" His voice sounds young suddenly. "What is all this?" "Oh, for God's sake!" Emily snarls, dropping all pretense. "Fine. You want the truth? Richard was weak. His mother was interfering. Just like your precious mommy here. Sometimes people need to be removed. Like Derek?" Jason's face has gone pale. "Derek should have kept his mouth shut. Just like you should have trusted me instead of digging into things that don't concern you." Police sirens wail in the distance. Emily's face contorts with rage. She reaches into her purse, and everything explodes into motion. A gun appears in her hand. Jason shouts. I move without thinking, decades of maternal instinct driving me forward. The gunshot cracks across the airfield. Pain blooms in my shoulder, but I'm still moving. Emily's gun clatters away as we grapple. All the rage, all the pain of the past months pours out as we fight. "I won't let you hurt anyone else," I gasp. Emily laughs, high and broken. "You still don't get it, do you? I always win. Always." "Not this time." Police flood the airfield. Jason is shouting something. Emily tries to twist away, to reach for her fallen gun, but I hold on. Even as my vision blurs from blood loss, I hold on. Because this isn't about winning anymore. It's about stopping the cycle, protecting what's left of my family. Even if it costs me everything, the last thing I see before consciousness fades is Jason's face, tears streaming down his cheeks as he finally sees the truth. The hospital room is quiet except for the steady beep of monitors. My shoulder throbs, but it's nothing compared to the weight of the manila envelope in my lap. Inside are Emily's full confessions, extracted during hours of police interrogation. Every manipulation, every crime, every carefully orchestrated tragedy. Jason sits in the visitor's chair, looking at his hands. We haven't spoken since the airfield, since he watched his wife try to kill his mother. The silence between us feels like another wound that won't heal. Lily's flight lands tonight, he finally says. Mark's picking her up from the airport. I nod, unable to find words that don't taste like ashes. Did you know? His voice cracks. When you gave Emily the house deed last year, did you know she was planning this? I knew something wasn't right. The envelope crinkles under my fingers. But I wanted you to be happy, to have the family you deserved. The family I deserved. He laughs, hollow and broken. I helped her destroy everything. I believed her lies about you, about Derek, about... He stops, swallowing hard. I can't fix this, can I? Before I can answer, Derek appears in the doorway, leaning heavily on a cane. His injuries from the accident are still visible, but his eyes are clear. They're moving Emily to maximum security, he says. She tried to bribe a guard. Jason flinches at his wife's name. I watch him struggle with the weight of everything he's learned. How Emily used him to access Richard's insurance money. How she manipulated him into turning against me. How every moment of their marriage was built on calculated lies. The house is yours again, Jason stands abruptly. I've already signed the papers. And Mom... He reaches for words that won't come. I know, I say, but I don't know what I know anymore. The victory feels empty, tainted by the cost. Derek clears his throat. Richard's sister wanted you to have this. He hands me a small box. Inside is a simple silver locket, the one from the photo of Richard's mother, before Emily destroyed her life. She said you'd understand, Derek adds quietly. I do understand. The locket represents everything Emily tried to break. The bonds between mothers and children. The trust that holds families together. But as I hold it, I realize something else. I've become what I fought against. In my quest for revenge, I wielded the same weapons Emily used. Manipulation, secrets, calculated strikes at the heart. I should go, Jason says. Lily will need... Someone should be there when she gets home. Home. The word echoes strangely. Jason! I call as he reaches the door. The height marks. On the kitchen door frame. He turns back, confusion crossing his face. Emily painted over them, but they're still there, under the surface. I touch the locket. Some things can't be erased, no matter how hard someone tries. Understanding dawns in his eyes. He nods once, sharply, and disappears down the hall. Derek settles into the vacant chair. Emily asked to see you. No. She says she has more secrets to share. About Jason, about... I don't care. I close the locket with a snap. Her secrets can die with her. He studies me for a long moment. You won, Summer. She's going to prison. The truth is out. Why doesn't it feel like enough? Through the window, I watch Jason cross the parking lot, shoulders bent under invisible weight. In my hand, the locket feels both lighter and heavier than it should. Because there are no winners here, I say. Only survivors. The monitor keeps beeping, marking time in a world that feels permanently altered. Somewhere, Emily sits in a cell, probably already planning her next move. Lily's plane crosses the ocean, bringing her back to a home that's both familiar and forever changed. And I sit here, holding a dead woman's locket, wondering if revenge and justice were ever really the same thing. The truth didn't set anyone free. It just gave us different chains to carry.